The top cop who put his badge on the line for justice.
The gripping story of Deputy Sheriff Doug Poppa. He was a top cop who did the right thing and paid dearly for it.
You know the name Doug Poppa?
Yes, I do. God bless Doug Poppa, an honest cop.
He was a man of integrity. His testimony last summer freed an innocent man from jail who had already been convicted of shooting his ex-wife. But Poppa's going public cost him his job as an undercover cop.
I was elated, of course. But then as he testified, I was somewhat concerned for him because I knew that they were probably going to crucify that man.
Doug Poppa was targeted for a 10-day suspension by his own department for defying superiors and talking to the media. This Brooklyn-born street fighter wouldn't back down.
Sometimes the truth has a price. That may be the lesson of a Virginia police officer who says, in trying to do the right thing, he ended up paying for it.
The message you're sending is, see, we did it, Doug. You don't come out, you don't buck the system. No matter what the reason is, you just can basically keep your mouth shut. But if I wouldn't do it all over again, I would take the badge and I would leave it on somebody's desk and get out of police work. Because the day I can tell the truth because somebody's pressuring me, and the day the system doesn't want me to tell the truth because somebody's pressuring me, is the day I leave the badge on the desk and walk away.
Poppa was fired for insubordination. One man who confronted truth and consequences.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Doug Poppa podcast for Thursday, June 22nd, 2023, from Las Vegas, Nevada. Before I get to today's podcast, I got a lot of information I'm putting out, and it's probably going to be all over the place because I got a ton of notes. Things pop in my head. When you do investigations, you finally realize after a couple of days or a week or two, you look back at some of the stuff you did, and you realize you start picking things out that inconsistencies, things that just bother you as an investigator. And so we're going to be talking about a lot of that today. Before I get to that, I'm going to put this up on the screen here so you can see it. Zoom it in. Okay. As people you follow me on Twitter, you know that, I wasn't upset. It was a point that I broke this story on May 22nd. And, it went all over the world. And another outlet was credited for breaking the story. Well, that's fine. But everybody now knows that the Doug Poppa podcast broke this story on May 22nd. And as you can see in here, on June 13th, and if you want to see these things, you always go back and freeze the video and then just take a screenshot. On June 13th, the New York Post, Dana Kennedy, wrote an article, and she was the first one to discuss my exposure of the police video cameras on the family's property. And she did a good article, and she even put in there, she says, even the skeptical ex-cop who broke the story of the mysterious object that allegedly fell from the skies above Las Vegas just after midnight on May 1st, and was the first to interview the family who claimed to see tall aliens. So, was that she was the first one to write an article on the cameras and then the incident and acknowledge that I broke the story. On June 17th, we had Fox News did a story, and a quote from their story, it says, the now viral story about the alleged aliens and subsequent police camera installment was first reported by Doug Poppa, a Las Vegas-based independent investigative journalist who broke the story on his May 22nd podcast. And as I did with the New York Post, on Twitter, I acknowledged them and said, thank you, Fox News, for rightfully crediting me with breaking the story on the Doug Poppa podcast on May 22nd, 2023. And you all know I was on Ashley Banfield twice, and they credit me with breaking the story, talking to the families and everything like that. 8 News Now, they did an article later on, and they put in the article, and this is the response I put up on Twitter, and you can see it, I think it's up there, it's number 2 on there. And I said, thank you, 8 News Now, for recognizing my work. Much appreciated. And they said that, quote, independent investigative independent investigator, Doug Poppa, first questioned the cameras in a podcast last month. Poppa appeared on 8 News Now's affiliate cable channel News Nation on Wednesday, and then I responded, I didn't just first question the cameras in a podcast. I broke the entire exclusive story on May 22nd on the Doug Poppa podcast with multiple follow-up reports. My podcast is my forum for my independent investigative journalism stories. And ladies and gentlemen, this was all out on Twitter. And as you know, I got the Twitter account. It's Doug Poppa 1. And you go on Twitter because that's where I put updates when I get it. And I actually broke this story on May 18th on my Twitter. And I talked about that in the first couple of podcasts. And then I saw that David Chons got an award for something. He was the reporter from Channel 8 that did the first story for Channel 8. And I said he got an award for something else. And I just said, congrats on your award, David. Should 8 News Now receive an award for the Vegas quote-unquote alien story, one would hope you will do the honorable thing and set the record straight and acknowledge that it was a Las Vegas-based independent investigative journalist who broke the story on May 22nd. So we got that out of the way. I want to say another thing, ladies and gentlemen. We have, obviously, a lot of people don't like my podcast. They don't like the way it looks. They don't like the stuff that I do. And let me tell you right now something. There's a reason why this is called the Doug Poppa podcast, okay? People don't like the intros, the outros. Well, that's just too bad, okay? It's my podcast. I will put whatever I want in this podcast. I will discuss whatever I want in this podcast. I don't take orders from anybody, and I don't work for anybody. So if you don't like my podcast and you don't like the posts that I put out on Twitter, okay, do not follow me, okay? I never ask anybody to follow me. I don't care if I have 10 subscribers or 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever, okay? I'm still going to do the work that I have to do because I do it. This is what I do now. This is what I do in my retirement. So if nobody likes the way I do it, personally, I don't really care, okay? Don't watch the podcast. Click it off. Just like if you don't like what somebody says on a news program or on a podcast, anybody else's podcast, don't criticize it. Just say, turn it off, okay? So enough of that. Now, the other day, there's a retired Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department detective. His name is Anthony Pack. I think it's P-A-C-K-E. Anyway, he went on Twitter and starts attacking me, saying, Doug Poppa hates the LVMPD. And I blocked him. Then he starts a bully and coward and all this high school baby BS stuff that, ladies and gentlemen, I just don't have the time to deal with, okay? I'm doing multiple investigations, not only with this alleged UFO incident, but on Sheriff McMahill. I got another podcast will be coming out, a couple of them on him. I got more information on the 1995 incident, more information on the unsolved Lane Kaufman murders, the botched double homicide investigation that the LVMPD screwed up over 6 years, 6.5 years unsolved. I got more cover-ups that I was apprised of. So this is all the stuff that I'm working on. And I just don't work on one thing. I got like multiple stuff that I do. This is what I do in my retirement. Like I said, I got over 40 years investigative experience, and I do what I do. If nobody likes the way I conduct these investigations, well, then conduct your own investigations and do your own podcast. Because you know something? I really don't care. I will block you if you start doing derogatory and demeaning comments about me and my followers. You're out of there. So I said that. Now, let's get back to this Anthony Pack, I think his name is. Okay? Doug Poppa doesn't like the LVMPD, and he put that on Twitter. Okay? Well, he needs to do a little research, Anthony, because if you saw any of the stories that I wrote for the Baltimore Post-Examiner and listened to some of my podcast, you know that the furthest thing I am is a cop hater. I'm a former cop, okay? Just because you are friends with Sheriff McMahill and you endorse Sheriff Lombardo, that is your right, okay? I don't like both of those guys. They're both documented liars. Sheriff Lombardo, when he was a sheriff, he was corrupt, incompetent, and a documented liar. That's my opinion. I can give that, okay? And Sheriff McMahill was also a corrupt, documented liar, and I proved that. And he's also a documented pervert per 1995 Internal Affairs Bureau investigation. And everybody knows, go to my podcast, you could see all that. So you put that out. And another thing, let me explain something to you, Anthony, in case you don't know. If your daughter was kidnapped and raped because the negligence and incompetence of detectives the year before, when the suspect should have been caught. How would you feel? How would you feel, Anthony, if it was your mother who was stabbed 68 times as cops stood out her apartment door, heard her screams, wanted to go in to save her life, and were told to stand down by their sergeant and wait for SWAT? How would you feel if it was your mother who was murdered? Anthony, how would you feel if your daughter was murdered, an unsolved murder to this day, and that 3 days after the crime scene was cleared by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, your colleagues, you went in the apartment and stepped in the same bloody carpet in the room where your daughter was killed, and you found evidence that was left behind by the detectives, crime scene analysts, whoever, that should have been sealed, tagged, and taken out of that apartment? How would you feel? So when you say that I hate the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, okay, I hate certain people. Hate's a strong word, okay? I dislike certain people on the department, and you all know that I have no respect for Kevin Pervert McMahill. You all know that. So your opinions are fine, Anthony, but do a little research. And ladies and gentlemen, he's going to be mentioned again later on in this podcast for something else. So being that I said that, let me get this up on the screen. This is, we'll get to this UFO stuff in a second. I want to update you. Number 15. I got a lot of inputs. I got a lot of stuff to talk about here. Okay, let me get this up here. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the story I broke 2 years ago, I just mentioned the 12-year-old girl who was kidnapped and raped in Las Vegas because of the negligence and incompetence of sexual assault detectives and their supervisor. And then Sheriff Lombardo, at the time was the sheriff, he's now the governor, and his undersheriff, Kevin McMahill, initiated a major cover-up that I exposed. And Antoine Perkins, the suspect in these two kidnapping and rapes, is coming up for trial in Las Vegas, still scheduled for June 26th, 2023. That's Monday coming up, 9 o'clock. And you can see all the charges against him: kidnapping, sexual assault on two different children. And it says jury trial, 9 a.m., 40 to 50 witnesses they expect a call, and they expect this to take 2.5 weeks. So that's an update. Should any of the news media out here, maybe they want to cover it, I'm going to try to get into some parts of the trial to sit on it. If I can, I got a bad back. But again, that's another story that I broke that the Las Vegas media never followed up on. And just like Paula Prado Zuniga, the 74-year-old woman in September 14th, who was murdered in her apartment by her son, as the cops were told to stand down and wait for SWAT, and the son came out before SWAT arrived, all full of blood. The cops who wanted to save her life went in, found her body, and some of them got emotional problems because of that, according to my police sources, because now they're saying, we should have just told the sergeant, fuck you, Sarge, we're going in, because that was a barricade hostage situation that should have turned into a rescue attempt the minute they heard her screams. And the captain who wrote up the sergeant, his name was Danny Cordero, for failing to take action and order the cops to take action. She retired from the police department. I think she retired, I put it on my Twitter, I think last week, and she's going for a position out in Vancouver, a police department. And like I said in one of the podcasts I did, the estate of Paula Prado Zuniga now has a local attorney in Las Vegas representing the state. So that's not going to be the last time we're going to hear about it. And that's another case that the Las Vegas media just didn't follow up and report on. So it is what it is. And you know what's disgusting, ladies and gentlemen? I said this in my podcast. You do a story on a family who allegedly claimed to see creatures, alien creatures, and it goes viral all over the world. And every news outlet pretty much in Las Vegas reported on it. But nobody reports on a woman getting killed as cops stood by and did nothing, and a 12-year-old girl getting kidnapped and raped. Well, the fact that we have a convicted criminal, Michael Ramirez, on the police department, and he was convicted of a crime. He's back on the police department. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about the other story that I broke last year about the LVMPD lieutenant who bilked the county out of thousands of dollars of unearned pay because he was staying home. And these stories just keep going on and on. but I've been breaking these stories for years and nobody follows up on them. So I just want to get that out. This is my podcast and I will say what I want to say. So now that we got that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, this creature sighting, I'm going to be all over the place with it because I got a lot of notes, and we're going to get a lot of stuff out here that I've been working on for a couple of weeks. But the past 48 hours, I've been looking at videos and some other stuff that I'll talk about that's starting to bother me in this case. So it is what it is. First thing I want to do here is a couple of announcements. I'm going to show a news clip here in a second. So for people who just came on here and do not know what I'm talking about, you'll have to go back and look at episode 142, started on May 22nd. That's when I broke the story. Episode 143, episode 144, episode 145, episode 147, and episode 147A. Those are the 6 podcasts that are out now relating to all this. And another thing, all these people on Twitter and all this stuff asking me stupid questions that I already answered in the podcast, and I keep telling people I'm not a teacher, okay? Go into the description section of all my podcasts, not only on this stuff, and you will see updates that I put in there, because I can't do podcasts every 5 minutes when I get an update. So look in the description section of the of all podcasts, and you'll see updates when I get new information. I want to straighten something out. If you remember, I believe it was the first podcast I did in episode 142. When I was talking about it, I think it was 0038 hours. It said A/S notified by landline, and some of my sources would tell me that was the assistant sheriff, and I said it was probably Sasha Larkin because she runs Homeland Security. Well, some of my people were wrong, and other ones said it meant A/S meant area supervisor, area sergeant, and I didn't think that was right because the sergeant was already notified in the log. But a retired communication center dispatcher told me the A/S that's on the original communication center log stands for air support. When I said A/S notified by landline, she said that's air support notified by landline. And that would be the Metro helicopters. So that's what she told me. So I'm putting it out. But there was nothing in the log that the helicopter was up that night, or at least I didn't log it in. But anyway, that's what she told me. So that sounds pretty much like that would make sense. You notify the helicopter unit because there's something strange up in the sky. So we got that out of the way. None of this stuff is going to be in order because I got just tons of notes that I make when I do this stuff here. So before we get to anything else, listen to this clip that I made. Okay, should run.
If you have not heard of Doug Poppa, he's a fascinating fella. First of all, he's an investigative journalist, an independent, right? But he's also a former cop. So that gives him some credibility here in terms of how to investigate the right way. He's been following this story since the very beginning. He was the first person to actually interview this family, the 911 family, actually 2 times in person. And one of the times when he was interviewing the young boy, the teenager named Angel, the one who's dropped the YouTube videos, etc., Angel was on the phone on speaker with a female voice, and the female voice was requesting that Angel get the license plate of Doug Poppa, the person who was conducting the interview. It was all very kind of hinky and odd. I want you to see it for yourself. Take a look.
Angel.
Yeah.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Can you get his plate?
People have to remember, 3 people saw this. Angel, his brother, I think is a year younger than him, and his father. Angel called 911. The father got on 911 and said the same thing. I saw the creatures about 15, 20 minutes ago. But when I was out at the residence on the 27th, and they were showing me where these things were, where they believed they saw them, and I was standing against a metal pole that was holding up like a carport, and the father, and I'm just a little over 6 feet, about 6 feet, 6'1", and he said, that pole you're standing next to, it was taller than that pole. Now I'm about 6'1", I looked up, that pole was about 8.5 feet. And Angel said, yeah, it was even taller than that. Angel gave me the photograph of the two sergeants from the Northwest Area Command of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, who he said was about midnight on May 6th, who came back and talked to the father because allegedly what he told me is the cop said the first two officers didn't do something right.
Did he tell you who it was on the phone eventually?
Yes, it was the female detective who came out with the family. There was a male and female after this incident, like days later, who came out and talked to them. After the first two officers were out there the morning of May 1st, the two patrol, and you all saw the video on that, the body camera video and all that, okay? The mother told me when I was there on May 19th that after the first two officers came up, a couple days later, two more cops came. And I believe she's talking about the LVMPD sergeants that I posted the picture on.
I need you to tell me about the photograph you took of what looked like cameras installed on the roof of the home, and those came, what, 2 weeks after the incident, and then suddenly were gone a few days later. Is that the right story? And again, I'm a bit tight for time.
They were installed on May 19th in a lamppost in the rear yard of the family's home. They were installed by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, Homeland Security Division, that's run by Assistant Sheriff Sasha Larkin. The cameras were there when I saw them on May 19th, and they were pulled out 3 days before May 27th when I went back. And I have that confirmed from the family, and my police sources said those were definitely installed by the technical and surveillance squad that works for Homeland Security under the direction of Assistant Sheriff Sasha Larkin.
All right, I want to bring in now podcaster, investigative journalist Doug Poppa. He has been following this since the beginning and investigating this. Doug, the redacted and blacked out body cam video has a lot of people wound up because why would you do that? And the answer from the police was the privacy of the home owner, or at least the renters. I'm having a tough time with that because we've seen plenty of video before where that doesn't happen.
Well, obviously it's redacted both on audio and video because there's obviously something they don't want us to see and something to hear. In this case, everything is blocked out. So we don't know the conversation between the police officer in the backyard and Angel. We don't know what they were looking at. My sources told me that immediately after this incident, a Las Vegas Metro Police Department detective who he works with the gangs or something, he's an IT expert. My sources said he was immediately called in, and the speculation is that something was either deleted or changed in the record system, whether it was a body camera or a dispatch system, we don't know, because he's not even talking to his friends.
Is there anything that can convince you that this is true at this point in this investigation?
I don't think I said this last night. I don't believe the family's lying. I believe they're telling the truth. They believe they saw something. As far as what the Metro Police are doing, they have a pattern and practice of cover-ups and lies over the years. So now this is almost 4 weeks. It's over a month now since this thing happened. Now they're starting to put out press releases and stuff, but they haven't put out press releases, giving a verbal statement. I don't trust anything right now. The timeline doesn't fit with these cameras. They put them in on the 19th, and I was told that the only way they knew about it, the undersheriff, was my podcast. And then they were pulled out 2 or 3 days later. Or if they were concerned for the family's safety, why did they pull them out?
Right.
And
Why
did
pull them
they
out
put
so
them back
quickly?
in now since there's people over at the house?
And because the speculation is growing and there may be more looky-loos. Makes perfect sense. Doug Poppa, thanks so much for being on again. Really appreciate it.
The family is pretty much in hiding now, and they say they're scared and claim there have been serious threats against them for allegedly perpetrating an elaborate hoax.
It's such a fantastic story, the way they talk about it, that it almost like it can't even be made up.
They do have supporters, including a local podcaster who's a former police officer.
Something happened over there. I honestly believe something happened. They saw something. What it was, I wasn't there. I have no idea.
Podcaster Doug Poppa has followed the story from the start. He's even interviewed some of the family members.
I'm not discounting what the family told me because I was not there and neither was anybody else. Okay, this gives you an idea if you just came to this podcast and you didn't watch the other episodes, because it just saves my voice, because the allergies out here are completely terrible and it destroys my eyes and my voice. So hopefully the voice will stand up. Okay, let's get into this. I said on episode 142, when I broke the story, I added the Ring camera, and a lot of the media out in across the country is mixing up all these cameras, and some of them don't have it right. They don't know exactly what they're talking about. The Ring camera that I posted in episode 142, that was from the house, and you see the light and the noise, like something was coming, and then you hear like a thud, like something's coming down. Okay, I said in that episode, when I put it in there, I said the only reason why I'm putting it in, because I cannot verify the location of the residence, is because my police sources, I got it from them. And they said that there was rumor that the time and date didn't correlate, and I said this in 142, with the May 1st incident. And I said that when I put that in there. And then on Ashley Banfield's show last week, I said, you need to discount that Ring camera, because I'm hearing that wasn't even in the neighborhood. It wasn't across from Angel's home, and it was on the other side of town. And I'm hearing it wasn't even, the time and date didn't fit. And that pretty much is true. I mean, there's media out there that reported on it. And so we take the Ring camera and take that out of the equation. That has nothing to do, as far as I know right now, with the May 1st incident. So we get rid of the Ring camera in the relevance to this incident on May 1st. There is something that kind of bothered me with that, with one of the news media, but I'll get that in another podcast. But right now, it has nothing to do with this incident on May 1st, so we get rid of that. I want to read this first. Before I go here, let me read this. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of stuff on social media about things that Angel's been putting out, and I just want to clarify this here. Okay, when I was at the house first of all, let me do this. I'm going to show some photos here. I got a lot of paperwork here, so just bear with me here. Okay, get some of these things up for you. Okay, 16 here. Okay, you can go back and free shot these later. This is from early 2023 this year, when the house was being sold. Like I said in the earlier podcast, that house was sold and it was bought by the owner, who rents out the property now to the family that's living there, Angel's family. That's a real estate photo from early this year, 2023, and it gives you an idea of the house. You see on the left-hand side there, that carport. And I'll show you, I think I have a closer view of that. There's a reason why I'm discussing that. So anyway, that's the front view of the house. Get that one there. Okay. Now, I want to show this one. This is the gate, so it gives you an idea. I'm going to show some videos. And I'm not going to show any videos from my previous podcast, because the more videos I put into a production, the longer it takes to upload, and my upload speed is only about 5 megabytes per second. So I got not new videos, but video I'll put in later, and you'll see what I'm putting in here. But so that was the front of the house. This is the rear view of the house, and the reason why I'm showing it is when I show one of the videos, because I was on the property, because this was not the way it looked. This was taken early this year, but you see that gate? Okay, the back of the house has that backyard, and then if you go through the gate, that's where what Angel and the family was calling a forklift is actually a front loader, where they supposedly saw these creatures. So you would go through that gate, and then you would be into the larger area in the back where you see the lamp pole and stuff. But you come out of the back of the house, that's their backyard, and then you go into the big rear yard, and that's the gate you will see on the video when they're going through it, just so it gives you an idea what you're looking at here. So now I want to show you this. This is the rear of the house. Okay. And you go back later and free shot these things if you want to use it for your own podcast or whatever you want to do. These people on social media dig into everything. Okay. Now that's the rear of the house. And why am I showing you this? Okay. And this was taken, I believe, when the house was being sold. Just hang on a second. I got to cross out some of this stuff because I got a lot of inputs and I'm going to get mixed up here. Too many notes. Too much stuff going on. Okay. So take a look at there. That is the back of the house. And you see the bench in the foreground here, in the front here. You see that little concrete bench, and there's like a stone angel sitting there on it, resting on it. And then in the back there, you see the patio, which Angel told me was the patio to his bedroom or the back of the house. Okay? But why am I showing you that? Remember, there's the little concrete angel on the bench, and obviously was there belonging to the owner when they got the house or anything. So it's still there. So let's get rid of that one. People, when I do these things, I have nobody working here with me. I'm doing all this inputs and production myself, so you just have to bear with me. Okay, why did I show you that? Because on May 27th, when I went back to the house, was interviewing the family, okay? I want to get a picture up here of this. Okay, now I'll blow that up in a second, but let me say what I got to say first. Okay, on May 27th, when I was at the house talking to the family, Angel and his brother took me into the backyard, and they showed me what's in this photo here, which are chalk drawings or etchings, whatever you talk, in the concrete. And you could see, I don't know if you could see it clear, but there's like something with wings, and then there's a tree, and there's two, look like rocks. And anyway, Angel says that wasn't there last night, but it was there, I mean, not last night, the night before that they saw this thing. But the next morning, when they opened up the door, they saw these chalk drawings in the concrete. And I guess this has been out on social media too. I guess he did a video or something that I haven't seen, but Twitter people are telling me, I don't have time to look at all this stuff, but I'm doing what I know, okay, and what I saw, okay? So that photo I took and sent it to my email when I was there, and it went to my email, and you could see, again, colored chalk markings on the bottom right-hand side. You see what looks like an angel or something, a demon with wings, and you see the tree. Okay, and I said to him, what's the relevance of this to what you saw? And he said, well, it wasn't there the night before, it was there in the morning. And he said, we don't have kids, and we don't have colored chalk. So he didn't come out and say he thought these creatures did it, but kind of insinuation. And I said, Angel, I said, let me ask you a question. Have you, because you guys said you fix cars and you sell cars and you repair cars and all this stuff, have you and your family wronged somebody, either maybe ripped them off or something, and somebody's pissed off at you, and maybe they're coming back and they're scaring you, they're doing something? And he said, no. And I said, what about kids in the neighborhood? Could it be kids doing this? Maybe, somebody don't like you. He said, no. So it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I understand that he did a video with this or something like a week or two ago, but that's what he told me that night. That is a photo I took when I was at the house and sent it to my email. And so as an investigator, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm looking at here, okay? To me, there's only three answers here. Either Angel or one of his family members did that, put it in the ground, or somebody has it out for the family and they came back, or they're trying to scare them, somebody in the neighborhood, or maybe something that somebody has out for them, and put those markings in there. For what reason, I don't know. But when Angel was talking to me, he said, well, look at it. He said that thing with the wings, the angel, that's the statue that's on the chair that I just showed in the photograph. He says, and that tree is that tree over here, which was in the backyard. And then he opened up the gate in the backyard, not the gate I showed you, but there's another gate to the side there. And he said, there's two boulders out there. And I looked, and he said, those are the two boulders that somebody etched into the ground. So, it is what it is. That's what he said. So, to me, as an investigator, there can only be three options here, okay? One, for whatever reason, they did it and wanted me to show that, maybe, for whatever reason. The other thing is that somebody came in from the outside and did this for whatever reason. I don't know how that would scare somebody, put chalk in the ground. He said, we don't have colored chalk, we don't have kids. Or you can stretch the imagination and say that these creatures that were in the backyard, when he said they don't know where they went, maybe they went down to the Walmart, they got a box of colored chalk, and came back and put the etchings in the concrete. I know I'm being facetious here, but I'm an investigator, and I got to go with what I got. So that's out there, and I guess it's also out on the social media. Okay? So let's get rid of that one. Scratch that off my list here. Okay. Now, this podcast is going to run as long as it needs to run, so I get all this out, because I'm still looking at another aspect of this that's troublesome to me that I can't report on right now. So anyway, last week I'm on the phone with Angel talking about what they saw in the backyard. I'll get to that in a second. And then he says, well, I just want to let you know that about 2 or 3 months, and I didn't record this, ladies and gentlemen, so it's coming off the top of my head, but he said about 2 or 3 months before May 1st, him and his family were at a gas station or like a 7-Eleven store in the gas station. He said, and some black woman came up to him that he didn't know, and he said that she knew my name. And she said to him that demons or aliens were going to come down to the earth or something, like at some time in a couple of weeks or something. And he said he didn't know who this person was, but she knew his name. And I said, Angel, that sounds fucking crazy. And he says, well, that's the truth. That's what she did. And I said, if you start telling people a story like this, your credibility is going to go out the door, because that sounds freaking crazy. And he says, well, that's what she told me. And so that's what he said. Unbeknownst to me at this time, I found out later that he actually put a video or something out somewhere on social media talking about this. But I did not know that, because he said, I just want to tell you something. I was talking about something else. So I said, Angel, that sounds freaking crazy. He said, well, that's what she said. I said, you don't know this woman? He goes, no, she just came up and knew our name, my name, and all this, and told us this thing about demons or aliens, whatever. I said, okay. I said, Angel, let me ask you a question, okay? You had that in your head when you were all in the backyard on May 1st, the morning of May 1st. I don't know what you saw. I wasn't there, okay? You're saying you saw aliens and stuff like that, creatures, whatever. For all I'm concerned, it could have been shadows, ladies and gentlemen. And when I say people putting words in my mouth, I never said, I said they saw something. I didn't say I agree with what they saw. I said they saw something. I wasn't there. I don't know what they saw. So anyway, get back to this. I said, Angel, could you had in your head what this woman told you about demons or aliens, whatever you were saying, and when you were in the backyard 2 or 3 months later, whatever it is you thought you saw, could that have been in your head and you now saying you saw, what you saw? He said, no, we're telling the truth. We saw what we saw. And I said, okay, Angel, the reason why I'm asking you this, and people, you can go back in episode 145 and listen to the podcast. I said, Angel, when I was talking to you on that recorded interview on the night of May 27th, you said, your exact word was, you thought they were demonic. I said, and you're mentioning that this woman said something about demons and aliens. And he said, we're telling the truth. That's what we saw. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm putting that out there because it's part of my investigation, and so it's out there. And I guess this is out there also on social media. Now, remember when Angel said in the interview, I told you that they saw a drone in the house one afternoon or one night. You can go back and look in the podcast, but it's in there. Well, I don't think he was lying about that, because we know that Channel 8 appeared to have a drone over the house, and probably other media were out there, or even UFO people trying to get pictures into the backyard. So I look at things like to try to, somebody says something, how can I disprove something they say, or did they make a comment that was false or something? So he said they saw drones in the backyard. You heard him talk about it, and obviously there were drones flying over the house, because that's on social media. Okay, now. There's media out there talking, some legitimate, and I don't know where they're getting this from, but they said like something came down that night and was retrieved. Where that's coming from, I don't know. I haven't found anything out about that. But anyway, that's out there. And what bothers me about this thing is like pro and con. You go, it's like a roller coaster. You go up, I go down, you go see something, you get more information. Maybe it's this way, that way. But remember, I said on the podcast that I spoke to the next door neighbor. And she said about that time, she heard a thud, like something coming down. So she heard something coming down. They said something came down in the yard. Okay. And she said later on, at some point later on, I don't know if it was that morning or later the next day, she said, I was interviewed by Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department police officers. They came and they talked to me. So I'm telling you that to get that. I talked about in the podcast, but I just want to get that out because where I'm going with all this stuff is I don't know where I'm going with it. It's like a roller coaster with this stuff. So we got that out there. Okay. You saw the Ashley Banfield show, and that was a big thing with me. Why, and I'm going to talk about this later on, why so much concern with the police department that they install cameras? I'm going to get more into this later on. And why are they concerned about who's going to the house? And you saw her get his tag number, okay? We talked about that on Ashley Banfield. And yeah, that's what she said. You heard it. That was the interview that I did on May 19th when I went back there. The first time I was there. May 27th is when I went back. May 19th when you saw that, when he says, he's talking to me and she says, Angel, get his tag number. And my police sources are telling me that, and I have a name that I will mention when I confirm it, but I'm not going to mention it now, that is a female detective assigned to the Homeland Security Bureau, is what my police sources are telling me, okay? So you have to ask yourself, I want to know, why was Metro so concerned about people going to that house? So concerned that they gave the family, the detective, her direct line cell phone. Keep that in your head. I don't have the answer for that right now, but keep that in your mind. And then we have the cameras that went up. You get more into the cameras here in a second, okay? So another thing. Remember I told you that on May, and this is in the other podcast, I think it's the first one and the second one, that when I went up to the house on May 19th, when I was talking to the mother, and she was telling me, she says, yeah, the 2 cops came out, and then later on 2 more cops came out, and I said, I believe those are the 2 sergeants that I had the photograph on. It's in the photograph on. It's in the other podcast. And then she says, then detectives came out, and then they put the cameras in. Okay. And then when I was there, she was talking to me, she was upset. She says, because, and I said that in the first podcast, she said, the whole neighborhood knows that we saw creatures or aliens. And I said to her, and I said this in the other podcast, well, how did they find out? And she said, well, the police, the cop. And I said, what? And she said, you go back and listen to what I said, what she said. When one of them was in the house, the other one was in the street stopping a car or cars. And he was telling the people in the cars that we saw aliens or creatures at the house. Now, when I was driving home, ladies and gentlemen, okay, I'm an ex-cop, okay? I haven't been a cop for 30 years, but I was an ex-cop and I'm an investigator. And I'm thinking, okay, that's got to be BS, because what cop would do something like that, okay? And we now know, ladies and gentlemen, that a cop did that. So watch this short video clip, courtesy of VegasBlueMedia. They were the first media outlet, they have a YouTube channel, to release the police body cam video that they got from Metro on the 2 officers that night that the other news media got also. But VegasBlueMedia was the first media on June 7th afternoon to release that, because I heard from my police sources, hey, these people, it's all over. They just got the body cam video. So this clip is courtesy of VegasBlueMedia, and it's something I just put together. So let's get rid of that one. We open a lot of inputs. This thing's confusing when you're doing this stuff by yourself. But okay, hopefully we'll get this thing going. So we got the audio on. Watch this.
Hey, did you guys... Hey, this might sound like a really dumb question, but did you guys see anything fall out of the sky? Yeah. We got a call, and one of my partners actually said that they saw it too. So, if you happen to see any, like, I'm not BSing you. If you see any footage? No, like if you see any, like, little, well, not little in this case. They're claiming 8 to 9 foot tall green beings that were in their backyard. Sounds crazy, but you never know. Your neighbors, your fine neighbors over here. But again, I would normally discount it as probably not real.
Neighbors right here?
Yes. I would normally discount it as nothing. However, seeing as one of my partners said they saw it too, only reason I'm actually investigating it further. So if you guys see anything, especially in your backyard, please call 911. We'll come over, okay? It might, and we're hoping that it's maybe just some kids pranking or doing something stupid. They said they saw something fall from the sky. They checked their backyard and they saw something with like 8 to 9 feet, no clothes, green-colored men, not human, with like the eyes were glowing, and they did not. It was not a human being. So, yeah. What's up? Yeah, there's multiple people in this home, so we already checked. Huh? More than one. So if you see anything, just give us a call, okay? Hope you have a good night. Take care.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so the mother was telling me the truth on that. And when I was driving home and thinking like, well, why would a cop do that? First of all, that to me, and I've been out of police work for 30 years, but what I would have done is why you want to plant the thought in somebody's head. It's like saying some guy just robbed the store and he's a white guy with a green jacket and black. Did you see him? And then what he should have done, what I would have done, would go up to the car and say, good evening or good morning. Have you seen anything strange tonight? And see what their response was. And if they said no, and, we didn't see nothing strange, you see anything that's got no, thank you very much, and move on. Because now what you do when you did what this officer did is, now that family, like the mother said, went back, and I guess the whole neighborhood knew about it because she's blaming the cop, and rightfully so, because the other part of this is the investigation. Whatever investigation Metro did, but even though you don't say that, because now that family goes back and talks to everybody else and says, oh yeah, there's like green aliens in the house over there. And then if the cops wanted to follow up on something, you go back and then the neighbor says, oh yeah, there was like aliens in there. Well, where did you hear? Did you see it? No, that next door neighbor told me. So it compromised the investigation. So I don't know why he approached the car like that, but he did, and he did. So but that corroborates, ladies and gentlemen, what the mother told me. So the mother wasn't lying. And, they said, Angel said he saw a drone. And there was drones there. We know that because the news had the drone. So it's like back and forth with me, back and forth. I look at things that other people don't look at because I was an investigator, and I pull things apart, what people say, and I try to find, discrepancies and consistencies and false statements and stuff like that. But she was telling the truth. I didn't believe it when I was driving home because, like, why would a cop do it? But obviously the body cam came out. And that was courtesy of VegasBlueMedia. And he did do that. So, and it's interesting because some of my sources said, well, Doug, that's not technical. That is unauthorized dissemination of police information to a citizen who had no business knowing what they were investigating at that house. And they said a case in point was a couple of years ago back when when Joe Lombardo was still the sheriff and Kevin McMahill was the undersheriff. There was a police officer who's now retired. His name is Carl Bomer. And Bomer, they blamed for saying this. I guess he was a resident officer out at the Gene resident area at the time, or resident officer, okay? And they accused him of a citizen, they say, came up to him and said, do you know how the fire started? I guess there was a fire. And then they said that he told the citizen the fire was most likely started by kids setting off fireworks. And Lombardo and McMahill were going after this guy, and I'll tell you why. So they opened a full-blown investigation, according to my sources, an internal affairs investigation, and wanted him fired. And then they found out that he wasn't even the one that made the comment. I think there was like a forest ranger or something. I don't remember what they told me. So he wasn't even the one. The reason why I was told why they were going after him is because at the time, Sheriff Lombardo was involved in off-road racing. And he had a garage somewhere out in that resident area where he had his off-road vehicles stored. And long story short, I guess there was a detective that he used to work with in narcotics, a friend of his, who was also a resident officer. And that officer would come to work, and the resident officers, they're in the outlying areas. Some of them live there and everything like that, and they got to take home, SUVs and stuff. Well, long story short, this other patrol officer, instead of patrolling and backing his officers up, would come to work and then go work on, according to what the sources are telling me, Joe Lombardo's off-road vehicles on county time. And from what I was told is that it came down from Lombardo to the sergeant lieutenant to leave this guy alone, let him work on the cars. Well, from what I'm told, Carl Bomer vocalized about that at roll call and stuff and was upset about it, and rightfully so, and he was targeted. And they also did some other stuff with them, with the criminal intelligence. Anyway, I'll do another podcast on it. But anyway, I'm bringing that out because my sources told me, and that's the stuff that goes on allegedly at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, I don't have the input on this, but I'll show you this on the screen here. Pull it up on the camera. See? Okay. I put in a records request to the records section of the LVMPD, and I wanted all officers' reports and investigative reports, anything associated with this incident May 1st, and I gave them the address. And within 2 days, I got this thing back, and it says, communications. Here, you are seeking records maintained by and in the custody of LVMPD Communications Bureau. Please contact LVMPD Communications during business hours at blah, blah, blah. And the Communications Bureau, the dispatchers, they have their own record section, separate from the record section that would have police officers' reports and reports on the investigations, any follow-up reports. So when they sent me this, that means they're saying they had no police reports other than the Communications Center log, which I'm going to get up for a second here because I got something else about that, which I already had, ladies and gentlemen. You saw in the podcast. I didn't get that from record requests. I got that leaked from a source at the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. I had the unredacted communications log. So why would I call the Communications Center? Because I was asking for police officers' reports or investigators' reports, follow-up reports on this incident. And obviously that response is, we don't have any. Now, some of my police sources told me, because different, as a cop, different police departments, different, law enforcement agencies are different. They said that, Doug, you got to remember that original call, and I said this in my podcast, went out as a 425 suspicious event, okay? And it was cleared IIDA, which means unable to locate. They couldn't find anything, okay? They wouldn't have done a report on it, the officers, so there wouldn't be a report unless there's a report from detectives or something to Homeland Security that they wrote something up, and we're not going to get that. So there wouldn't be any officers' reports, and that's what they told me. So that's why we got that response. So where are we at now here? Okay. I want to show. No, let's not do that yet. Sorry, I got notes all over the freaking place. Okay. Some of the news is reporting that the police department is telling them it's not a hoax. They don't think it's a hoax. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if they don't think it's a hoax, then what the hell is it? Okay? The opposite of not a hoax is people are telling the truth. What are they telling the truth about? That they saw something come down? Or that they saw creatures? Or is it not a hoax that they saw something and they called in? So, but the news media out here is saying, Metro's saying it's not a hoax. That's what they told them. They haven't told me because Metro's not going to talk to me anyway. So the alternative of not a hoax is they must be telling the truth about something. Just pointing that out, okay? Now, I already said, if you're listening to this podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to when I broke this on May 22nd, episode 142, follow up on 143, follow up on 144, follow up on 145, follow up on 147, follow up in 147A. Okay, so we're getting rid of some of this paperwork here. We're getting down to some other stuff we're going to talk about here in a second. Okay, I got some more videos that we're going to play. Okay, what I want to do here, before I get anywhere, I'm putting this up, and just remember what I'm putting up on the screen here. This is the, okay, are we getting that up? No, that's not coming up there. Organizational chart, how come that's not up on the screen there? Hold on a second, let me add this in. I thought it was in there. It's not. Give me 2 seconds to add this in because it's important. I want to see you see this because, a lot of people is this, they don't know sometimes what I'm talking about, especially they're from out of state or how the police department works. And I just made this one, so I didn't have it in the system. I think it's going to be in the system here. And the software in 1 second. Okay, there it is over there. Okay, so let me get this up on the screen for you, and I'll explain what this is. This is the most current organizational chart from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. And at the top, you could see Office of the Sheriff, Kevin McMahill, again, documented pervert and liar per 1995 IEB investigation. And then you could see on the right-hand side in green, you see Chief Administrative Officer James Kilber, and then you see where that chain of going to the bottom. That's everything that he's in command of. Okay, and you'll see Law Enforcement Administration, Detention and Support Group, and then I highlighted a couple of things: Communications Bureau, which is the dispatch center. There's a reason why I'm saying this, ladies and gentlemen. Information Technology Bureau, and then Digital Investigations Bureau, and then it says Director Kevin Skehan. Okay, so you can go back later and pull that up. There's a reason why that's there, and I'll explain as we go along why I'm showing you that. So let's get that off, and let's get rid of that. Okay. I'm just marking off what I'm showing. I want to get everything on the screen. What I'm showing. You know, when you do investigations later, and if you've never done them, sometimes you're laying in bed and you got things coming in your head, and you say, "Wait a minute, that didn't make any sense," or this I need to write. So I get up and I start writing notes and stuff, and then I write them down. So I want to make sure I'm getting everything out that I have right now. And there's more to this, but I can't talk about it now because it's still under investigation. Okay. I just want to get this out here. I put this on my podcast just so I can get rid of some of these papers. And I think June 10th I put out, I said, immediately after the May 1st incident, an LVMPD detective named Matthew Garley, according to talk within Metro, okay, there's a lot of talk and scuttlebutt going on. Allegedly, he's an IT expert. Used to be in the gang unit. Well, he was called in, and the speculation, I mentioned this on Ashley's show, the speculation is that it may have something to do with records being scrubbed, altered, or deleted. And I said, not surprising to me, because the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has a history of corrupts and lies and deleting and manipulating stuff in the communication system. And I posted something on Twitter before about a story that went back a couple of years ago. So the scuttlebutt within Metro, and this guy's not talking to anybody, is that he was called in to supposedly something scrubbed. And there's also scuttlebutt that there may have been federal involvement in some way in this. But again, that's scuttlebutt. I can't verify it 100%, but I'm putting it out because sometimes down the road I get something confirmed. So I want to get out. Now, this guy, let's call him Detective Matthew, okay? You're going to hear me mention this again, and I'll tell you why. So anyway, hold that thought for a second. What do we got over here? I put this out on June 16th to the news media because, ladies and gentlemen, I live on Social Security. I don't have the funds to get documents a lot of times with court records because they cost money. So I said to news media, hello, if you're interested, request the following from the LVMPD. All Communications Bureau records from all area commands from 4/30/23, April 30, 23, 23:30 hours to May 1st, 2023, 0300 hours. And let me finish, and I'll explain why I did that. And then I said, a body cam video from the Northwest Area Command sergeants who visited the home, according to the family, the early morning hours around midnight of May 6th. And I said, all video recorded by police cameras installed at the home. Because we know now. I mean, I broke the story, and Metro, I'm going to get to more in a minute, but they admitted they had the cameras there now. So, I knew they did because my sources told me they wouldn't have done the story. But why? What am I asking for news to get? Because there's different people, and I can't confirm this. I can't watch everybody's crazy YouTube videos what people put out, but there's rumor. Like I said, one of the news media said something crashed maybe in Vegas and was retrieved at a later time. And then there's some other people saying that something may have happened somewhere else and something was crashed or shot down. Could all be BS, okay? But in case something comes up down the road, that's why I said request the Bureau, the communications records from April 30th at 11:30, because that's 12 o'clock is when this Meteor came down, and to 5/1 at 0300 hours. Because if something turns up later on, that something actually came down somewhere else, even, coincidentally at the same time this Meteor was coming down, you would want to have those records, okay? So, and I said also the body cam video from the Northwest Area Command Sergeants, because my police source says sergeants have body cam video. So what was the discussion with the family at the house? And I posted the photograph. I'm not going to post it. I don't have the input. I got too many inputs. Go back and look at the video. What were they discussing with the father and the family? Get that body cam video. See if that's going to be released, or is that going to be redacted, okay? But you don't know till you get it. And then I said, all video recorded by the police cameras installed at the home. The cameras that were installed by the Homeland Security Division, ask for the video. It was recorded. Get it. Let's see what they were looking at, okay? Maybe you won't get it, but try to get it. And another thing, this is how some smart asses are over at the PIO, okay? The New York Post did a story. Remember I said Dana Kennedy did the story? I think it was on the 15th, and she talked about me breaking the story about the cameras. And she said she called up, in there she says she called up Metro and said, do you have a Homeland Security Department? And they said, we don't have anything such thing. I don't know what they told her, but whoever told her that was being a smart ass, because it's not, the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department is a police department. They have a Homeland Security Division that's commanded by Assistant Sheriff Sasha Larkin. So, hey, technically, you're exiting, we don't have two departments, we have one. So they said, no, we don't have any such department. That's what she said in the story. If she would have said division, they would have told her. But, they could have just told her, no, it's called a division. Anyway, so this is the kind of bullshit that police departments do that just bug the shit out of me. So anyway, so I got that out. Okay, what do we want to do here? Okay, let me get that over here. Okay, let's get this out of the way here. This is the 19th, because I'm showing a couple more videos, so all this you'll understand why I'm putting this up on the screen here. Okay, again, you saw this in the first podcast, but this is the Communications Bureau log from May 1st. And the reason why I'm showing it again, because you remember that at 0032 hours, right there on the bottom, it says, person reporting, who was Angel, they don't put his name in it, but it was Angel, passed the phone to father. He is also advising, saw these subjects 15, 20 minutes ago. Okay? So, and I said that in the other podcast. Let's get rid of this thing. Okay. So, Angel, when I talked to them when I was out there on the 27th, the father told me he didn't see the craft come down, but he saw whatever came down, if it came down. He saw the creatures, okay? And, he described them to me. Matter of fact, when I had that, so I just want to get that up there because he also reported seeing the creatures. And, that's a point because it's not just because if it was just the two kids, ladies and gentlemen, after everything Angel was saying and some of the stuff that sounded bizarre to me, then I would have said this was like a hoax that they did and they made it up. And then, now it's going like a snowball and it gets bigger and bigger. But we have the father, okay? And the father's an intelligent guy. I talked to him. He's not going to be calling up the police, hopefully, and just to cover the kids. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what they saw back there. I don't know if they saw a shadow, a ghost, or aliens, or demons, or whatever. But I believe they saw something in the yard, and we're going to get to that in a second. So I'm putting this out. Because some people saying, well, the whole thing is BS because Angel was saying this about demons. And maybe it is, okay? And maybe it's not, okay? So we got that out. Now, what do I want to do here? Okay, I'm going to save this one for later because I want to get into the cameras and some other stuff here. And we'll get back to Garley. Okay. Now, I asked Angel last week as a follow-up, and I haven't any contact with them for the past couple of days, but I've been doing other stuff too. But anyway, I asked them, remember the blacked out body camera footage that was blacked out It's 16, 20 minutes. Ashley talked about it when it was on the show. Okay, that bothers me because if you notice, you go back and look at the video, and I'll have the links to the VegasBlueMedia site where you can look at those 2 police body camera videos on there, and you can forward it and save it, whatever you want to do. But you remember from one of them, when they're in the front of the house later, where the police blocked out like the garage, because maybe they don't want you to see what's in the garage, and they still have the audio. Well, they could have done the same thing in the backyard. If they didn't want to show something in the back, you blur out the whole thing, but you still have the audio running. And that's what's bothering everybody because they're saying it's like, they're covering something up. And maybe they are, maybe they're not. But I asked Angel on the phone last week. It was the same day that he told me he saw this, the black lady coming up and all that stuff. And I said, Angel, when you were in the backyard with the cop, when you were in the backyard, it was like 16, 20 minutes or something a block out. What were you doing back there? What did he see? And did he pick anything up? Was anything taken? And Angel told me, this is what he told me. He said, no. He pointed out the circle, which I'm going to get in a second here, the depression there they saw. And we were just walking around. He was checking stuff. And, I was telling him what I saw. So I said, Angel, did somebody tell you to say that? Did he pick something up off the ground? Could have been a piece of something that fell out. I'm going to tell ladies and gentlemen why I'm saying this. Could something fell out of the sky, not like an alien craft, but something. He goes, no, nobody picked anything up. Nobody went back there and retrieved anything out of the backyard. At least that's what he told me. So I want to get that out because I did follow up on him because I was interested in what they were doing back there. Why is it blocked out? And this is a very bizarre case, no matter how you look at it. So now there's another question I have. Okay, these are my notes that things pop in my head. Angel said that the next morning, remember he said on the video that he heard a lot of feet and footsteps. And I talked to the mother on the phone. I was talking to her on the phone a week ago, and she said she also heard footsteps, and she heard footsteps on the roof also. Okay, that's what the mother told me. Okay, so I'm just telling you what she told me. Okay, so my thing now is, he said the next morning, and everybody's saying like, why didn't he? And I asked him. The next morning he said he went out and he saw tracks all over the yard. And I asked him, you heard me in the podcast when I said it, I said, did you take photographs of that? He said, no, he just didn't take them, okay? That kind of bothered me because if you see creatures in your backyard at night and the next morning you heard footsteps and they disappeared somewhere because the cops came, they didn't see anybody there, okay? Unless they were out at Walmart picking up the colored chalk. I'm not making fun of this. I just try to put some humor in this because I don't have a whole lot of humor because my back's killing me. But let's get back and stay on track here, okay? He didn't take any photographs of the footprints. Okay, my question is to the police. Well, they're not going to talk to me. Did the officer that went back there that night with Angel, did he see any tracks? Not the circle, but did he see any strange footprints or anything in the yard? And then did he take a picture of the circle, okay, with his cell phone? Because he said to Angel, was that there? And Angel says no, okay? I'm going to get to that in a second. But did the cop take any photographs? I don't know. I'm just bringing that out because these are questions that are bugging me because I don't have the answers to. Now, and the other question I'll think of right now, pop in my head. If everything was nothing, why did ladies and gentlemen, I said this in the other podcast, it wasn't one sergeant, two sergeants. I don't have on my input, I should have put the photo up, but go back and look, I published the photo, okay, that Angel gave me, the two sergeants. It was two sergeants, not a sergeant and an officer, or one sergeant, two sergeants were back to the house, and were back there from what Angel told me was the first two cops didn't do something right. That's what he told me, that's what he heard. And take it for what it's worth, that's what he told me. So, but we know two cops did go back. And all this stuff that happened with News Nation last week where they told him something different and Ashley was talking, that's another mystery to me because they end up admitting that the cameras were there. Well, they had to because I took pictures of them and I got information that they were put in by Homeland Security. So anyway, so we got that part of it. An hour, 9 minutes, I don't care. This is going to go as long as I get all this stuff out. Okay? Again, this is what I got here. I make this notes up in my head. This bugs the hell out of me. Why were the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, ladies and gentlemen, so concerned about that house that they went back and put cameras in 19 days later, okay? Why were they so concerned that if someone comes to the house, the family member, Angel with me, can call them up immediately and say, somebody's here, I don't know who he is, he says he's a journalist, and then get his tag number, we'll check it. Why were they so concerned about who was going to that house? Okay, let's hold that thought for a second. Okay, we throw that on the floor. What else we got over here? Okay, I'm going to talk about that in a second. Put that over here. There's too many freaking papers, and it drives me absolutely freaking crazy. But I got most of the stuff here. Media first. Okay. Let's go to... Okay. What do we want to do first here? Let's go to this first, because the other one's going to take a little bit of time. Okay, do that to cameras. Let's do this. Okay. Let me put this up on the screen. Ladies and gentlemen, when I posted 147, I think it was the last one, they had 147A, and everybody went ballistic on Twitter. People, I don't care. I don't have time to respond to you and listen to this nonsense. If you don't like what I'm putting out what I get as part of this investigation. I'm putting out for you to look at, determine your own determination. I don't really care what you determine. That's up to you. I can't be bothered with this stuff. I got my own stuff going on. So I put out 147A, and I put out the 2 video clips that I got from Angel when I was in the house on May 27th. He had it on his big screen television, okay? And you're going to see that. And I said to him, is this all the video you have? And he said, yes. And I said, send me those clips through my email. And he did. And I posted them the other day, and everybody goes crazy, like asking all kinds of stupid questions that I can't answer. That's the way I got them from him. Now, in case you don't know, when photos from cell phones and cameras, digital photos, get transmitted over through email, and people keep republishing them, it goes through compression and everything else. So keep this in mind. The person who took the original photo, whether it's from a cell phone or a camera, just an example, okay? That's the photograph, that's the film, that's the video that you want to get, because that would have what's called metadata, and there's a lot of information in there, and it would be the fresh original video. Once you start sending to somebody else, you start degrading it, and it gets compressed, and it's the technical stuff, and so you want the original. So I asked him when he was showing me on the big screen, and he's saying, you see things against the wall there, like he was telling me like there was beings there. And I said, hey, I don't see nothing, okay? He said, well, they're there. I said, send me the 2 clips. Is that the only video you had? He responded, yes. Now watch this short video clip, and then I'll talk about it more here in a second. This is the first part is a repeat of that 4-minute thing I did the other day when I put it out, but I'm showing this for reason and succession, so watch this.
Entonces, que acá, dile que acá, callale, yo muy pelón, soy pelón, varón.
So when that happened, the only thing I can see in the backyard is a tall creature, probably around 8-10 feet tall, very thin. So I called my dad. He went to the backyard and he saw the same thing, the same creature I saw. He told me to go inside the house. At this point, we all freaking out, me and my family. And here's the video where we were in the backyard area. You cannot see it too good, but on camera, but it's there. Here's the video.
¡Ay! ¡Permisar! Calmundarela, me canceles var eso. Cáelo, cherro, que chile. Cáelo, cherro.
Moments after the video, me and my brother went to go pick up my tools. Then my brother calls me, and he told me shakingly, look behind the forklift. So I look. Keep in mind I'm facing the forklift, and then I see the alien creature. So when I saw it, it was a tall, skinny, lengthy creature. He was a gray, greenish color, and when I looked at it in the eyes, my body just froze. Like the same experience as having sleep paralysis. Keep in mind I'm staring at him, and I look at his whole body, and he has a weird looking feet and a big face and eyes, and you can see a big mouth. And I could hear his loud, deep breathing, and I could see his stomach moving. He would just stare at me. Seconds later, I could start moving again. And I start running towards the house. That's when I call 911.
Estaba forklift.
Me dijo ahora, me dice más un show. La verdad que dije me cerró y es muy callado.
Acabo que dije
que la mesima que la acabas.
Depende de que la
A mí dicen pálpale, hay que utilizar con camisas. Pero llevan usas, llevan un virus.
De vuelta con ese luz, de vuelta casi cayó con dos y luz.
Ni comni, si pero pral. Si no te pares y puedo volar.
Ahora me que cantes París le gallengue a la chorsi, ahora y todo. Eso sí. ¡Ay! ¡Permisar! Calmundarela, me canceles var eso. Cáelo, cherro, que chile. Cáelo, cherro. Cáelo. Uy, chetar. Chile cao.
Agladel, varón.
Chile cao.
Varón cayó, si le unía caca bare, Agladel.
Cáe, cherro.
Adelo, diles.
Permisar, sale.
Te escucharé lo que te camiona, Agladelo.
Cáe, permisar, que sale.
Agladel te juzgó.
Permisar, porque no, cherro, que calmundarela me.
Diles, eso no son amigos, viendo para acá.
Cáe.
Ande el camión, los conchadicas del camión. Era segundo, de que de para acá, de cables.
Cáe, cherro, chile cao, la del.
El concha, costelo, concha, chisitilo.
Cáe, forklift o camión.
Eso es muy. Catelo, pegachar y palarlo, que te acordó con la. Palarlo, dile que a casa de hombre indique. Bien luchado, o sea, pegachar y dalo.
Chile cao, la del que.
Vaya, me dígale completico.
Oye, de cables. Cáe.
Costelo, de que acá, dile que acá, callale, hay muy pelón, varón pelón.
Ya, cherro.
Echaron ustedes dos, dijeron de. Concha, que la de que chuca
Pero la voz, segundo.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so there was more video because I asked him, and he said he had nothing except those two things that you saw in episode 147A. Then the other one comes out in the backyard footage. Now, the longer backyard footage was supposedly posted by somebody claiming to be his cousin. Now, that's since been pulled. That thing's been pulled for some reason, and other people may have got it and put it on the site. But the one that was originally from the cousin who made a comment to people, there's now 3 or 4 supposedly aliens in there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, just in the past 48 hours, that's why I'm dead freaking tired. And by the way, I'm sweating. I'm sweating over here because I turned the AC off because it just even the noise limiter doesn't knock it out. But anyway, we'll deal with it. Okay. I looked at those videos, 20 Ways to Sunday, and there's a lot of doctoring of those videos going on. People are putting things behind the fence and all kinds of aliens in there. It's all BS. It's nonsense. I looked at those videos, 20 Ways to Sunday, blew them up as best I can, and all I see in there are shadows, light apparitions, reflections. I'm not saying there's nothing in there, okay? But it was the same thing when I was at the house when he was showing me the ones that I posted the other day, and I sent them to him an email. He's saying there's things in there right there. Well, if these things are half invisible, then how could he see the ribs and the body and the eyelashes, which got me when he said that in the interview. I also saw the eyelashes and they were blinking. But you notice, go back and listen to episode 145 when he says, one had the alien eyes, the other one had like human eyes. Okay, so listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not saying anybody's lying here. There's a lot of this stuff to me is just not making any sense, and there's a lot of inconsistencies. Now, also in the video that he posted, you can go back and look at it, and I'll put the link in to this to his channel, Alien Society 51, which, anyway. So notice what he said. It's a little. There's like an inconsistency there to me. He said he showed the family of the father. Now, obviously, they saw something back there because the father's making motions like something, and I don't understand what he's saying. But something scared them. That's why I said they obviously something happened there because it scared them. What it was, I don't have any freaking idea. Okay, but then he goes on his video and he says, then like after the family left that we saw, he says, I went to pick up my tools. Now, he never told me anything like that. So. And then my brother said, look at the creature near the front loader, that what they call the forklift. It's the front loader, okay? It's not a forklift like people think a forklift. They call the forklift. It's a front loader, okay? So I'm a little confused now. I watched that last night because you have to go back when you do these investigations and say, what did I miss? What did I miss? So now he's saying the family was there. They got scared. But then I went to get my tools, the car tools. And then his brother said, hey, there's a creature over there. So now I'm a little dismayed. Did that happen before or after or during when the family was seeing these creatures? And my thing to me is, hey, if I just saw a bunch of creatures that I didn't know what the hell they were, excuse my language, but fuck the goddamn tools. I'm going to my house and, I'm going to get a shotgun or something. I mean, they had guns when they went out there, but I find that he talks about it and then he says, oh, then I went to get my tools and my brother said nervously, hey, there's an alien or a creature over near the thing. So that's kind of bothering me. But, ladies and gentlemen, I talked to a lot of witnesses when I was a cop. Sometimes when people have a traumatic event, they don't remember stuff, and then they remember it later on, or they confuse stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean they're lying. It's just that the way their mind works, okay? So I'm just pointing that out there. So now that I said that, let's get to this. Okay, get rid of that. Minimize that. I want to get to this. May 20, it's number 21 here. Okay, what are we looking at? Let me blow it up and then get it back. So, well, I don't care if you see me or not. But anyway, okay, what is that? When I was over at the house, again on the 27th, is when he showed me this also. And that was taken, and you could see the time up there, May 1st, at 01:37 in the morning. And you heard this in the other podcast. He said that is the circular depression that he saw in the ground with the cop, and he took a photograph of it, okay? And you remember from my first podcast, I said when I was up at the house on the 27th, I saw something similar, almost exactly. And I said it was in front of the lamppost, forward towards the back of the yard, just like in the photograph, and I saw the circular depression, okay? So let me show that one more time. That's what he put out. The theory being, the way they think, is that that's the area where this thing came down. At least that's what he said, okay? And then it miraculously, I don't mean to be facetious, but it came down, it was blurry, and all of a sudden, he didn't see it and he saw the creatures. So let's get rid of that for a second, and let's do this. Okay. Now, other people have done this on social media, but I don't trust anybody because any photograph or video can be doctored. So I have to do my own investigation. So 2 nights ago, Sunday I think it was, I went on Google Earth and put in the location of the house. You'll see it here. And I'm going to blow it up. Got this Sunday night. And you notice in the bottom left-hand corner, it says December 20th, 2022, 6 months ago, okay? We're now, I think, let's say the 21st, 22nd. So a little over 6 months ago, the satellite from Google Earth took that photograph And as you could see, go in front of the lamppost, upper corner to the right, and I can't blow up any more than what it is. You see the circle, okay? That's the circle that I saw at the house on May 27th. It's in the same location where I was standing, almost to the back, and you see that in the upper right-hand corner, okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say this, okay? The NASA and the Meteor Society said what came down that morning was descending, was a meteor, and they think it came down hundreds of miles away. Last night I heard said maybe the Pacific Ocean, okay? So I have to say this now, that take that circular depression and the photograph that he took, and just like the Ring camera, that's, to me, is now out of the equation, because it was another time, I think it was like the middle of April or something, they're saying, when that was taken. And that fits what the police told me when they gave it to me. They said the time and date's not jiving with that Ring camera. And I said that in the episode 142. So now I'm going to take the photograph that Angel posted, that we posted, because it was news. He posted the first photo, and we said it was a circle, and allegedly the thing came down. So one more time there. See it upper right-hand corner. There. Let's get rid of that. So now I'm going to take the circular depression, and we're going to get that out of the equation, because that was there, obviously, this one, December of 2020, December 20th, just over 6 months ago, and that's the impression I saw. So that circle that everybody claimed, that he claims, or that's where the thing came down on, we now know we can get rid of that. I can feel comfortable with it. I did my own research, got my own Google Earth photograph. So now that photograph, to me, is out of the equation, just like the Ring camera. That's out of the equation, okay? What's not out of the equation, ladies and gentlemen, is what would be the smoking gun here, okay? The smoking gun, make sure I got my notes here. I'm 68 years old. When I do these things, sometimes you can start forgetting stuff because there's so much stuff here. So cameras, okay, we'll get that one over there. Okay, the cameras are back on June 27th. Just bear with me a second. Do any cameras installed? Okay. Cameras broke. Okay. Okay. Good. Now, so goodbye Ring camera. Has nothing to do, as far as I'm concerned, with the May 1st alleged alien beings or whatever creatures, whatever they were. The circular depression, the ground, and the families back home, as far as I'm concerned, take that out of the equation. That's now out with me. Maybe somebody else you want to put it in, fine, but with me, and I don't want to hear anything on it, because to me, it's gone. I have no doubt that what came down out of that sky, that Angel saw, that he described, and a lot of other people saw it and got the video. Remember, in episode 143, I not only showed a newer body cam video from the police, but I also showed the house on the south side of the strip that came from 702 Times, and they published that right on May 1st, and that was a clear shot, and the house was on the south side of the strip, facing north, and you could clearly see that the thing coming down, what it is. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, remember on the first podcast, I said people were saying there were parachute flares or military training flares, and I said I've seen those before, and it's not that. I said I believe it's a meteor. So there's no doubt in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, right now, that what you see on that body cam video and the other home videos was indeed a meteor. Okay, so what else the family saw back there? If something could have come down at the same time, a possibility, but I'm leaning round towards that. The reason why when Angel said, remember the father didn't see the craft, it was Angel and his brother who told me that they saw this blurry thing, and I'm not saying they're lying, but with everything I'm doing in my investigation, when I said, remember go back and listen to 145, okay, and you'll hear all this stuff about the eyelashes blinking and the eyes. I don't know how you could see eyelashes in the dark yard, but anyway, go back and listen to it, because when I asked him, did you see this thing take off? Okay. And he said, no, it was like blurry. And then all of a sudden the creatures are there. Well, it could be that the reason why it didn't take off, because nothing actually came down. But the other side of me is saying the way this story is, it's so freaking bizarre. like I said, some of it's believable. Like, could it be possible that something did come down and it was like a blurry? But then somebody else pointed something out to me the other day and said, Doug, I don't forget nothing, people. I'm not stupid, okay? They said, remember when you interviewed him the first time and he was in the NASA shirt on? I don't know what this kid's hobby is, okay? I didn't get into that with him. They said, could this kid be like a science, a paranormal, kids like, they're into that stuff. But listen, there's no way in the world Angel or the family could have known a meteor was going to come down, through the sky and light up the sky, okay? So what are they waiting for a meteor and going to start this big thing? Or did he see that and then said, now I may be able to do something? That is a possibility. I'm not saying the family is lying because the father said he saw these creatures also, but I keep saying when people ask me, I don't know what they saw, but I believe they saw something because they were scared. It could have been a shadow, could have been a coyote or something, or an animal. The mother said she heard footsteps, she heard something on the roof, coyotes jump on roofs. I don't know, but I'm going to say this again. I honestly believe the family, the father, and they said they saw something. What that something was, I don't know. Could have been a ghost, could have been a mirage, could have been something, but they saw something. I'm sticking by that. I was not there, neither were you, so I don't know. So we got that. So now we got the Ring camera gone. We got the circle. We got that out of the way. Nothing happened. That was there. Proved that. Now, the smoking gun. You listen to this video. Let me give you a little thing before so you know what I'm talking about here. We're at an hour and a half. I don't care. Okay? We're going to go with this because I got to finish this because there's something else going on with this that I've been investigating and I can't report on it now. But and I still got to talk about the cameras yet. So, okay. The smoking gun to me, remember on my first podcast, and the ones I did 6 of them, one of them in there, and I said when I was in the back of the yard on the 27th, and the cameras were down at that point, okay? I saw them on the 19th, and when I came back, and they said, well, they were pulled about 3 days ago, which would make it about the 23rd when my second podcast aired. But I said when I was in the backyard, I saw lower on the pole, I saw the surveillance camera, and it had a cable, so it was going somewhere, right? And I asked him, and he said, that belongs to the owner. And I was told that it records, or the owner has that at his home, okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, you heard Angel on 145 is the clear audio interview, and you hear him say, when I ask him, tell me again what you told me when I was in the yard. And he said that cops came back, whatever cops came back, whether it was detectives or sergeants, whoever, told us that they looked at the owner's camera, and it shows, this is his words, okay, not mine, that a couple of minutes before midnight, there's no circle in the ground. And then something happened to the camera, and when the camera starts recording again, a couple of minutes after midnight, according to Angel, they now see the depression. And he said the cops told him that because they saw the camera. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we know that that can't be true because the circular depression was already in the ground, okay? Next question I have for the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, did indeed, and I'm going to get to this in a second because I mentioned that guy, Detective Matthew, that's what we'll call him, did somebody from Metro go out and review the camera footage and see what Angel's saying he's saying to me, a journalist, on that recording? Because we need to know that. Because if indeed, maybe it was another circle they saw, if indeed that camera footage shows something bizarre going on, then we have a real problem. We have something here, okay? But apparently, from what I see right now, the circle that he's saying wasn't there and then was there when the camera came back on. That circle was always there. At least I know now that circle was there on December 20th of 2022, according to Google Earth, the camera. So I want you to listen to this, okay? This is part, again, courtesy of VegasBlueMedia. This is when the cops are at the house and they're asking them about the camera footage. Now, you can go back and play this. Now, I played this last night. I've been doing this for a couple days, watching these videos, looking for aliens, and I don't see nothing, so I'm like half batty right now. But listen to when the cop says, it says, do you have video? And almost simultaneously, when the father says something, Angel says they don't record. That's what it sounds like to me. But make that determination yourselves, and I'll tell you why I'm picking it up. I'm doing this from an investigative stance. That's why I do my work, and I got no favors on both sides here. I first did the story and I broke it. And if there's something not right with it, I will get to the conclusion of this somewhere down the road. So watch this short clip and listen to it.
Do you have cameras?
One camera, but it's down to the company. I'm gonna take the camera. Landlord is the only one who can see the camera. Yeah.
Did you guys have, I'm sorry, no surveillance, no video?
The cameras don't belong to us.
That's from the company camera. So. No, the post, one of the posts.
The landlord got a camera on the post here. Over here, I'll show you.
No, they don't see it. Yeah, the landlord has it, so they don't have access to it. But
okay.
Someone else has access to it.
And actually, one of the cops told me, he showed me the circles, like, look at this. He's like, well, was this here? I was like, no. He showed me the circle. He's like, look at that. And all of us were...
And that's when he took the photograph?
Yes.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, as you know from our first two podcasts, when I covered this exclusively on the first one and the second one, I also talked about the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department going onto that property. And when I spoke to the mother, that was May 19th. That was last Friday when she said they came out and they installed the surveillance cameras. But when I was up there this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, the cameras were gone. And you'll hear Angel talk about that in a second. But I did notice another camera that was lower on the pole that I couldn't see when I was out there on Friday, May 19th, and it's facing the rear yard. Angel, tell me what that camera is and who put that one there.
Okay, the camera, it was on the property already.
Right.
It's the owner's. So the owner has a lot of stuff in the back, like motorhomes and trailers. So, you know, he has to protect his own stuff.
And,
so
and is that recorded? That's recorded?
Yes.
Okay.
That's recorded.
Tell me what you found out about what was recorded on that camera. Tell me what you told me this afternoon as how you know it. You know what we're talking about. You told me this afternoon in the backyard, and your father what happened with that camera. Tell the people what was going on with that.
Okay, so the owners, they showed the footage to the cops, and the cops said that at probably 11:50 something, a couple minutes before that happened, the floor was perfect. Like the dirt was plain normal. Like there was no circle, no nothing. And then it cut off the camera, and then I let 12 or maybe 12:03, 12:05, I don't remember. A couple minutes after, the print was there, the circle.
So.
But in the camera, there's nothing on it. Like there's no light, no nothing.
So I'm clear here, because this is what you told me this afternoon, is basically the same thing saying here. The surveillance camera that's in the backyard that I saw is being recorded to the phone line or something through the owner who's off that property. And the cops went out there to look at the video, and then you're saying they told you that before this thing came down that you saw, a couple of minutes before, the ground where you have the photographs, ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing it on the screen here, there was no depression in the gravel. Then about 2, maybe 3 minutes, you say, or whatever you say, they're telling you that the surveillance camera went out, and when it came back on the recording, they now see the depression in the ground. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and the camera did not record anything actually physically coming down or crashing in the ground, except that the ground was normal, and then after it came back on, the circle that you took a picture of was there.
Correct.
Okay, and did it come any time when you saw something, now that it's on the ground, take off from the ground and go into the air? Did you see anything like that?
No.
So you don't have any idea what this thing was or where it went, right? What happened to it once it made that circle?
Correct.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, hang on a second. Let me get that off the screen. Okay. From an investigative standpoint, here's the point I'm trying to make. You heard him on that video. You go back. As soon as the cop says, we have the cameras. Now, the father say, yeah, they're on a post, and they're controlled by the landlord, just like I saw and just like they told me. There's no debate about that with me. But Angel says right away, they don't record. How he would know that, I don't know. But the reason why the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department has to come out with this whole thing and tell us just what the hell's going on. Because if they indeed, and I'll get to that in a second, who may have gone out there. But if they indeed saw that video and there's nothing there, okay, then this whole thing is a 100% hoax. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm not saying this hoax. I'm just saying why I'm determining that. If they don't have that video and there's nothing on the video, or maybe the video didn't record, because Angel said it doesn't record. Okay, that's what he's saying. It sounds like it doesn't record and the father's talking over him. If he knew that the camera didn't record, if you're going to make up a story like this, remember something, ladies and gentlemen. I was in that backyard. That front loader is past the lamppost. I don't know what kind of camera the owner had, but most likely it was a wide-angle lens on that surveillance camera so he can view the entire backyard, okay? If that camera was operating and indeed something came down into that yard, okay, it would be captured on that recording if he had the recording, okay? And if he has nothing, then nothing, like he said, it doesn't jive with Angel's story. But if Angel knew somehow that that camera doesn't record, it's just there. Sometimes people are not, most people have recorders on their camera. That's the purpose of doing it. But a lot of people don't. They put a camera, it's on a TV screen, and when they go around, they just look at it. But if he knew that that camera didn't record, and I'm not saying he's lying because we don't know this right now, then you can make up a story that something came down and aliens were walking around. Because if the camera was recording, okay, and the police have that recording, like he says, they went out and they watch it, then you would see clearer, because it's in the field of vision of the camera that I saw on the pole, you would see something coming down, and you would see creatures walking around that yard, okay? And possibly the next morning, the camera would see footprints. So we don't know right now whether that was the truth or not truth, but we know that the owner had that because you heard the father. It's on a pole, and he says it's controlled by the owner. So that is the big question right now, because that could be the smoking gun either way. The smoking gun that something came down, maybe the same time of this meteor, or some other thing, maybe a government project came down or whatever, or it's a smoking gun and it seals up the hoax, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you something. Immediately after I got wind of this, when I started doing this, I did my investigation on who owns that house, and it came back to an LLC. I'm an investigator. I do all this stuff, and I had a bunch of names attached. And I finally tracked down the owner of the house, of the LLC, that owns that house, and a phone number. And then also I had his son. Now, the owner is like 70, 71 years old. And I kept calling, and I got no answer. I finally got the other number, which his son is about 37 years old. And he said, "Who are you?" And it was a telephone conversation. Obviously, the guy thought I was, crazy. And I said, I told him who I was, investigate. I told him the whole thing. I says, I've talked to the family at the house that your father's renting them to, and told the whole story about what Angel said about the camera and the cops. And all he kept on saying was, yes, 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 yes. But I don't know if that was yes, 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 like affirming what I'm saying, or is that so people talk? You say something, yeah. And I said, listen, I've left messages for your father, and I want to know if I can come out and look at that recording if he has it, or maybe make a copy of it, and he's not returning my call. And he said to me, the son, I will call my dad and have him call you back. Well, this went on for like 2.5 weeks. I went to one of the homes, and there was no answer. I could not locate, get any contact after that. So that kind of bothered me. Either call me back and say, we don't have video, or we had video, and the police came out and took it and told us to keep our mouth shut. This is all speculation on my part, but he never got back with me. So now we're going to get into the cameras. Okay. What do I want to do first here? Well, let me get this up on the screen first. I'm sweating like a bullet over here because the air conditioner's not on. This is going on for an hour and 45 minutes. It's going to go as long as I have to get this stuff out. Okay, I'll go to 23 here. And that's the Meteor equipment. Okay. Now, do I have a copy of that so I can see what I'm doing? Probably not. Anyway, so let me get that up on the screen so you can see it. Okay, this is put my glasses on here for a second. This is the police response. Remember, they didn't do a written press release, which they do written press releases all the time. But for this incident, they decided not to do one. And the first one, you could see June 15th, I think it is. Is it June 15th? June 16th. Yeah. And that was sent out to my Twitter by Darcy Spears, chief investigator for 13 Action News. And that's the response that she said she got from Metro. And you could see it, saying that here's the statement Metro gave us. After the initial contact with LVMPD, the family at the residence reported they heard noises in their yard and were afraid of their safety. And then it says, we installed, it says we offered to set up cameras to help ease their concerns of someone coming to harass and or harm them. Now, on the 18th, you see the response to same thing. That's from News Nation, and they said the same thing. Las Vegas Metro Police Department statement, and that's what they put in on News Nation. And it says, after the initial contact with LVMPD, the family at the residence reported they heard noises in their yard and were afraid of their safety. We offered to put cameras up to help ease their concerns of someone coming to harass and or harm them. Okay? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, can I get that back up there so you keep it on the screen? I'm telling you right now, ladies and gentlemen, that is bullshit. Okay? And I said that the other day and I keep saying it. Okay? The Metropolitan Police Department does not go to private residences. They didn't even file a police report. And remember what the family told me. They never requested these cameras. They said, the mother said, when they came out, they said, we got permission from the owner, and we're putting them on here for your safety in case people come and bother you. That was the 19th. And they said, yeah, well, the cops are there, so the owner put it on. Yeah, put them on there, okay? They did not request it. I can find no police report, because the actual police reports, and the family never told me that they filed a police report prior to May 19th, listening to what I'm telling you, prior to May 19th, saying that they were afraid of their safety or being hurt. Because I asked Angel and the mother when I was there, and I said, well, are people coming to the house? Remember, this was before June 7th when this thing went viral, okay? And they said, no, like a couple people came by and stuff, but it's not like there was tons of people bothering them. So that statement from Metro is a bunch of BS, okay? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if they're saying they were just concerned, okay, and the family didn't ask for these cameras, even if they asked for the cameras, they wouldn't come out and put them on the property. Every time somebody says, I heard a noise in my yard and I want cameras put in, I mean, they often, does Metro come out and say, oh, Doug, you heard noise in your yard. Well, we'll put cameras in, and just in case you get harassed or harmed, we don't want that to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the part of this that's bugging the damn daylights out of me, because separate and apart from what's going on with this, with the family sore, okay? This is the other part of this. This is the story the news has to be focused on, because that is a bunch of bullshit. That's it. My sources are telling me, Doug, and I know it is, okay? It's just nonsense, okay? So somebody at the police department came back and said, hey, we just think we'll put cameras in, because in case somebody comes at harm. Why is this house and this family getting those cameras 2.5 weeks after the supposed sighting? Okay? That's the question. And hang on to this. Hang on a second here, because I got more stuff coming on this. Okay? I'm putting this up over here. And that's the title of the podcast you saw. And I'll say it again. Put this up over here. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a photograph from when Fox 5 a couple of years ago went out to what's called the Fusion Center. It's the regular name for that is the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center, okay? And it was formed after the attacks on 9/11. It's also known as the Fusion Center. They call it a Fusion Center because it fuses federal, state, and local who monitor that center that's out there. And that's the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center. So why am I showing that? Okay. I'm marking this stuff off because I want to make sure I have all these stuff on the screen here for this. Let's get rid of this. Okay, Southern Nevada, you saw the picture of it, okay? And I'll have the link to the Channel 5 story that they did a really good story on when they got a tour of that, the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center, on there. So I'll put that in the story. Why am I bringing it up? Because, ladies and gentlemen, my sources are telling me that the cameras installed at Angel's home were 100% monitored at the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center. That's where they monitor the cameras from. And remember I said we call him Detective let's call him Detective Matthew, okay? And I said that was a rumor that was going around. He's not a gang. He used to be in gangs. He's an IT expert. And remember when I put the thing up on the screen, before I get there also, and I think I said this in the other podcast, I got this confirmed again. 100% factual. Sheriff McMahill and Undersheriff Andrew Walsh were unaware that the camera install was put on that home under the direction of Assistant Sheriff Sasha Larkin, who runs the Homeland Security Division. She runs some other stuff too, but she commands the Homeland Security Division, which the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center falls under. You saw it on the organizational chart. Go back and pull that and look at it. I was told the first Andrew Walsh heard about it. They heard about it was when my podcast aired, and then was the 22nd, and I did the second one on the 23rd. And when I went back to the house on the 27th, the cameras were pulled out, and they told me it was about 3 days ago when Metro came out and pulled the cameras, which would fit about the 23rd, my camera. So this is all fitting. But the family told me, I told Angel, I said, why did they tell you that they pulled the cameras? Okay. They said because one of them or two of them weren't working right, and they had to pull them out. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is more bullshit. I was in the surveillance business, the casino, for 20 years. I did my own installs for people and my homes and stuff with surveillance cameras. You do not put in a surveillance system like they had, which was a wireless link that was going to the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center. And if a camera went out, you don't take the whole freaking system down, okay? You come back with replacement cameras. You climb up or use a snorkel, whatever they use to get up there. You open the dome. You unplug the camera. You unbolt it. You take out the camera. You put the other one back in. You bolt it back in, and you plug it back in, and now your system is working. So when they told the family we're pulling it out because the cameras were broke or one of them was broke, that is more bullshit, okay? I don't know what they're hiding over at Metro, okay? But for some reason, 19 days later, they wanted those cameras on private property, okay? To watch the home, to watch the family, to watch another. Before I get there, okay? Let me read this again. I read this in the other podcast. Remember, I did my podcast on the 22nd, the first one. On the 23rd, I did the second one. And I sent this media request. You'll see it up on the screen. It's on my Twitter, okay? I don't have it on the input. May 23rd at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Good afternoon. This is to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department Public Information Office. I have been informed that the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's Technical and Surveillance Squad, TAS, T-A-S-S, it's pronounced TAS, okay, installed a police video surveillance system at a private residence located at blah, blah, Las Vegas, Nevada. What was the reason for the installation of the video surveillance system? What was the cost to the taxpayers to install the system? What is the cost for the personnel who are monitoring the private residence via the camera system? Did Sheriff Kevin McMahill and Under Sheriff Andrew Walsh authorize this installation, and if so, why? Or was this a unilateral action by someone under their command who issued the order for the installation? If neither Sheriff McMahill or Under Sheriff Walsh did not authorize this action, then what does that say about their leadership of the Las Vegas Metro Police? Are the cameras equipped with the microphone capable of picking up conversations, and if so, what is the effective range of the microphones? Are the cameras installed capable of pan, zoom, and tilt, and if so, were property owners surrounding the target location advised that the cameras are capable of being rotated to surveil their private property? What telephone number can a private citizen call to request a similar installation on their private property? If the property owner is the property owner or the renter reimbursing the police department for the cost of the operation. Thank you for your attention to this media request. Here is the link to my May 22nd podcast, and I sent him the link, and I said, please respond at your earliest convenience, Doug Poppa, independent investigative journalist. And ladies and gentlemen, I sent that out on May 23rd. I didn't get a response from Metro. And what? Last week, they finally come out and do a verbal statement to the media with this BS excuse that they put them on the property because they were concerned for the family's safety. Well, if they were so concerned for the family's safety, how come after June 7th, when more reporters were coming over there and people, how come the cameras were not installed? Okay? So we got rid of the Ring camera. We still have an open question here on the homeowner's camera. But let me say something else, okay? Last week, when I was on News Nation, the next morning, because my back, I couldn't get in the truck, okay? I called back, the producer from News Nation from California. And I said, I gave them all the information I had that I uncovered about the LLC and the addresses of the owner and the telephone numbers and stuff. I said, you need to send your people out there because that is the smoking gun right now. If that video camera was recorded and the owner has the recording, if it was recorded, and it shows something strange in that yard, because it would pick up something coming down, creatures walking around, whatever, that would be the smoking gun. So they said, yes, I gave them all the information. They went out, and this is what they told me later on. That's exactly what they said. The cameras, yes, that the Sunny was good. Anyway, I don't have the paper here, but what they said was the landlord isn't talking, and the son said they have no video. So isn't that amazing? Okay, that could be the truth, but why didn't they call me back for a couple of weeks and say we don't have any video? Okay, so if Angel is telling the truth, listen to what I'm telling you, people. Okay, if Angel is telling the truth, and the cops told him that the circle wasn't there, or maybe it was a different circle. Who knows, okay? And then the camera went out, came back on, and the circle was there. If Metro took that camera footage, and they have it, that would either prove or disprove whether this thing is made up or a hoax. Because that camera, if it was recording, like Angel said, they watched it. So if they went back the next day, okay, obviously it was recording. Because they're not watching in real time because you have to be in front of the monitor. So if they went back the next morning or the next day or 2 days later, it would have been recorded. So the police department need to come out here because I'm going to tell you something. If this is a 100% hoax, okay, then somebody needs to be criminally charged because we need to get to the bottom of this. But it still doesn't answer the question of why Homeland Security put those cameras on that property 19 days later, okay? For the family safety, nonsense. I'm not buying it. Why did they remove them after my podcast came out? What would it make a difference if Doug Poppa did a podcast and everybody knows the cameras were police cameras and it was a legitimate operation? Why would they be concerned, excuse me, to pull the cameras out? They would say, okay, they're there. We put them in for the family safety. Screw Doug Poppa's podcast. Okay, he blew it. They're there, but who cares? But they pulled them out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, did they pull them out because they already had the footage that they needed? Was it maybe not the Angel's home that they were watching? Was it a neighbor's home? Or they wanted to get footage of who was coming to the house? That's a possibility, okay? And then they pulled it out because now I blew it out of the water. And you would say, well, why would they be interested? Well, we know they're interested if people come to the house because they have the number. Call us up. Strange people come. Yeah, this guy's here. Run his tag number. There's something stinks about this whole thing. So this is speculation on my part, okay? This thing came out on May 22nd. Now, it didn't go totally viral until June 7th, but people knew about that house because, the cop told the neighbors, everybody's talking about it, and I did my podcast. It was out on social media. People were talking about it. Okay, so think about this. Suppose something came down that night. Like they're saying, these other people saying something crashed in Las Vegas and was retrieved, okay? That's what some of the news is saying. I don't know if that's true or not, okay? Suppose something came down. Let's say, one, it was extraterrestrial. Number two, it was a piece of American technology. Number three, it was foreign technology, Russian or Chinese. Came down somewhere, okay? Now, it's already out on social media because of my podcast that the family said something came down. It's out there. Now, here's the way it would work in the counterintelligence business, okay? Russia or Chinese, they have spies that live in Vegas, and some of them come from embassies in California, and they come out. And I can't get into the whole thing now, but I can't tell you how I know that, but I know that, okay? So they get wind that this family is saying something came down, okay? And maybe something did come down, but it didn't come down in Angel's house. It came down somewhere else. So they sent out foreign agents to investigate, to find out where and who's talking about it, or maybe they can possibly retrieve it, okay? So maybe those cameras were installed, this is speculation on my part, at Angel's home to see who was coming to the house to identify possible foreign agents. That is not too far-fetched. But we know this BS excuse that they put them in for the family safety is nonsense, because you don't come there if it's safety. You would come out with 2 replacement cameras. Oh, we're taking them out because they're broke. No, you're not going to take out that whole wireless link that was up there. So that is BS to the family. That is BS to the news media out here. And I'm the only one talking about it right now. This is the focus news media. We need to get to the bottom of it. Why did the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department's Homeland Security Division install cameras on that property 2.5 weeks after the incident happened? And sooner or later, I will find out about it. Not now, because everybody's shut down over there, okay? To the most part. Okay, now let me make sure I get everything out over here, so I want to get out. Install them for safety? Bullshit, okay? Why did they put the cameras back? Now that everything was hitting the fan after June 7th, I said that on Ashley's show, okay? Remember, the questions I asked Metro in that press release that they wouldn't answer me for, and they didn't do answers for 3.5 weeks, and they come out last week, and they give this verbal BS. Where's the written press release, LVMPD? How about doing a written press release and telling the people exactly what the hell's going on over here, okay? Because if no cop went out to that house and never reviewed the owner's camera, okay, then Angel lied to me, okay? And I'm going to get to the bottom of this one way or another, okay? It's going to happen. Sooner or later, the truth will come out on this. They didn't put the cameras back after June 7th when everybody was going out of the house. So remember, when on my first podcast, I said when the mother told me when I was over there, she said they came about 12 o'clock today, which would have been the 19th. And this was the mother's words, okay? She said this is what she said. They told me it has 360-degree rotation. Those were her words. And microphones, so they could hear what's going on. She even said when I was standing there, said on the podcast, they're probably watching and listening to us now. I said, yeah, because if you see line of sight of the camera could see you. That's why I asked Metro, what's the range of the microphones and stuff like that? Because I've said, she was describing the technical term for a 360-degree rotation camera, because that's what she told the police, are called pan, tilt, and zoom. You pan at 360, elevation up and down, you can zoom in the lens, and now they have microphones and you can hear. Yes, those cameras exist, and I know Metro's got them, so we don't know why those cameras were out there, but it certainly wasn't for the family's protection because they never would have pulled them out. So that's a BS excuse. Now let's get back to something else. Remember I talked about the organizational chart? And I said Sasha Larkin runs Homeland Security, and then the other part of it was Under Sheriff Walsh is Sasha Larkin's immediate supervisor. James Kilburn, and I mentioned this the other day, nobody reported this in the news, when McMahill took over, for the first time in the history of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the undersheriff, which is Walsh, would normally run the entire department. Under that, go back and look at the organizational chart. He would run everything. And then he would go. But now what he did was he put Andrew Walsh in charge of, patrol and some other stuff. And then he put this guy, James Kilburn, who's a civilian. He's never been a cop. This is the first time this has happened in the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. He put him in charge of all those divisions and the Communications Bureau. And you saw it on the chart. Go back and look. Now, remember I said to look at the bottom of the chart? You see something called the Digital Investigations Bureau Director Kevin Skian. He's a sergeant with the police department, and they make him director. He gets I think, captain's pay. Now, Kevin Skian, I know Kevin Skian, okay? I know him personally, and I'll tell you in a minute how I know him, okay? It used to be called the Cyber Crimes Unit. I think that's what it was called. They now call it the Digital Investigations Bureau. So one of my sources said this detective, who he wasn't familiar with, Garley, whatever his name was, call him Detective Matthew. He was called in, according to rumor in the police department. And I said, well, why would he be called in? What would he be looking for? And my people told me that he most likely works. Okay, where the hell is the rest of my paperwork over here? Okay, did I throw something on the... Okay, here it is, over here. It's freaking hot. I could say it was hot. It's freaking hot over here right now. The air conditioner's on. Okay. They told me this detective most likely works for the RTCC, which I never heard of. What the hell is the RTCC? It's called the Real-Time Crime Center. And that's the camera's home base that were installed at Angel's house. The Real-Time Crime Center is in the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center. It resides in the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center, also known as the Fusion Center. Multiple agencies man like I said, they have state, federal, and local, man the Counterterrorism Center. The cameras at Angel's home would have been viewed at the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center by way of the RTCC, the Real-Time Crime Center, according to my sources. And now we get to this. And I said, well, where do you think this guy fits in? Why would he come out? He says, well, there's a unit. Okay. There's a unit, we just mentioned it, called the Digital Investigations Bureau. And Kevin Skeen's director. He's a sergeant, but he's director, like I said. And they said that's where most likely this detective Matthew works. And James Kilber, the civilian, he has the power of the undersheriff. He's at the same rank of Andrew Walsh. In other words, Walsh can't tell him what to do, and he can't tell Walsh what to do, because they both answer directly to Sheriff McMahill, the liar and pervert, per 1995 IAB investigation. That's what he is, and that's why I keep saying it, okay? And some other stuff I got coming out. I mentioned on Twitter, I got more stuff coming out on him and Sasha Larkin, so we do that. So anyway, now we're in the digital investigation section, and I said, well, what do? And they said, here's one of the things they do. If there's a crime where patrol officers are handling a crime, okay, and there's something digitally need to be taken, like a search warrant, and you get a computer, a camera, or cell phone, they would send out a detective assigned to the Digital Investigations Bureau, and he would get that. That would be his job. So that kind of fits, that if Angel is telling the truth and Metro told him that they went out and reviewed the tape and they got it and they saw what Angel said they saw, the one who would have went out would have been a detective assigned to the Digital Investigations Bureau, according to my sources. What we don't know now, if indeed that did happen, because listen up, Las Vegas Metro Police, people internationally want to know here. If that family is not telling the truth and this is a hoax, then we need to get to the bottom of it. And we also need to know why you install those cameras. The Homeland Security Division install those cameras at the property. Now, whether we're going to get answers to this, who the hell knows, okay? Or they're going to come out with another BS answer, who knows on that. Now, why did I say, yes, Metro, can we do that one here? Comments gone, a family says they removed them. Get rid of that. We already talked about that one. Put that one over there. I'm just getting rid of stuff here. Oh, yeah. Just when I think I'm making sense, this pops up. I know we're at 2 hours, but, if Joe Rogan could do 3-hour podcasts, Doug Poppa can do a podcast. This is the longest one I think I've ever done, but hopefully it'll be done here in a couple of minutes. So we still operating here? Yes, we are. So anyway, let's get back to the digital investigation. I said I knew Kevin Skeen. Years ago, when I was director at the Riviera, real short, we had the DEF CON convention, the DEF CON convention there for a couple of years. And Kevin was in charge at the time, was the sergeant in charge of the cyber crimes detail. And they came out and assisted us because our IT people had to take special precautions and get different type of firewalls and stuff, because we were told that the DEF CON people would come in and try to hack into the reservation system and rooms, the whole thing. And that's what they do. And they did. We did have some hacks. And I'm going to tell you something. They really helped us out, Kevin and his people, for years. Every time we had them there, they came up, they set all their equipment. And one day I walked in, and they had it set up in our surveillance room, the manager's office. And I know a little bit about IT, but I'm no IT expert. Okay. And I saw this stuff going through the screen, and I said, "What's all that?" And they said, "Those are penetrations coming into the Riviera IT system. People trying to get into the system." but we had a good enough firewall where our firewall was blocking it. They even hired a guy. Metro had they even they contracted a guy from Germany, an IT expert, to help them out on this because of the DEF CON. Anyway, long story short, you don't need to hold the details, but I'm telling you, the guys that were assigned to the cybercrimes, which now I think is encompassed in the digital investigation section, ladies and gentlemen, people saying there's rumors that something was scrubbed or washed or something off the system. Okay, those guys aren't only good because I saw how they work. They are very, very good about digital and cyber stuff and stuff like that. So whether that's just people are just talking rumors that something was scrubbed, but that's what I said I heard, scrubbed, federal involvement. This guy, Detective Matthew, was called in. He's not talking to anybody, even his friends, and he's shutting down. So whether that's BS or not, I don't know. I heard it, so you're hearing it here. I have another part of this investigation that I'm working on. This is not over with me by long shot because we have to know whether this is a hoax or they did see something. And right now, I can't say it's a hoax. I'm going to say that they saw something, and that's what I've been saying. What the hell they saw, I don't know. I know I reviewed those videos for 48 hours, and I'm going crazy. I don't see anything in there. I know when the Baltimore Examiner blew up that image, that was just blown up, and some people see a figure. I thought I did it, but then I look at it and I see shadows. We don't know. If the family has that original video, or maybe more video, because as I said, the cousin put out the longer video, where's the rest of the video? If they have more video, and it's already there, this is an international this is an international event right now. They need to come out and let a video technician or the police. That's another thing I know. Did the police take the stuff from them? Did the police say, I want to see everything off your phone? Because you would do an investigation to find out now, is this a hoax? Because everybody's talking about it all over the world. That part of it, I don't know. Sooner or later, I'll find stuff out, but right now, that's a mystery. I said the other day on Twitter, I said, and I'm asking Metro right now, Sheriff McMahill, you're the sheriff, okay? How many times in the past 5 years have you installed police surveillance systems in private residences' property, inside or outside of their homes? You don't have to give us the location. How many times has that been done and why? Because one cop told me the only time he knew about something like this was a couple of years ago when some cop's family was getting threatened because of something he did, and they came in and put a camera on the property so they can monitor it. But everybody's telling me, Doug, they don't do this because if indeed that's what they do, remember, they came out right now and said it. So Metro just acknowledged to the press that they have a policy that they will install surveillance cameras on private property if they feel you may be harassed or threatened or harmed. Not that you were or you're going to, they just feel you are. Remember before I was talking about Anthony, I think his name is not Anthony, I think it's Anthony Ashton Packer, the guy that made the comments about me. I blocked him, I had enough. I don't need to hear this baby stuff, okay? But, so anyway, how we doing? We talked about digital. We're at 2 hours and 13 minutes. This is going to be over here in a second. I'm going to do more follow-ups later on because there is something part of this that nobody's investigating but me, and it's starting to bug the shit out of me, but I can't say anything on it right now. That's the camera's home base. We already talked about that. Southern Nevada. So the cameras, ladies and gentlemen, and that's the title of this podcast, the cameras at the family's home who saw these creatures were being monitored, no doubt, at the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center. And we need to find out why, okay? But then again, you can't believe anything that's come out of Metro now because that was a bullshit thing they gave out. So now they're going to make up something. But the big thing here is, did they take video from the owner? Did they go out and view it? Because if they didn't, then Angel's not telling the truth. If they did, and something's funny on there, then they may have the smoking gun. That is something we don't know about right now. Now, one more thing, because I'm sweating like a bullet over here. If I turn the air conditioner on, even the noise limiter, it doesn't knock it out. Okay. Hey, just when I thought something else complicates this, but I'll talk about that in 1 second. Okay, remember I said this guy, Ashton Packer, Anthony Packer, the one that was hammering me because you hate your cop hater. I'm not a cop hater, okay? That's bullshit, okay? If you consider me a cop hater, because I'm trying to find out why cover-ups occur, like why a 12-year-old girl got kidnapped and raped because of police incompetence, why a 74-year-old woman was murdered as cops were standing outside her door, and all those other things that I've been doing, then you can call me a cop hater, but I'm not a cop hater. There are plenty of stories on the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department praising the police officers for years, even on my podcast. The hero cop who basically told him to shove it because he wasn't going to falsify police reports like they ordered to do to downgrade violent crimes. His name was, I can't remember his name off the head, sorry guy, but he's basically said shove it. And I did podcasts on that. And then what did Lombardo do as sheriff? He sent Andrew Walsh, who was the assistant sheriff at the time, I understand, to harass the guy. You dug Poppa's source and all this type of stuff. They should be more worried about the cover-ups and the bullshit that they do about harassing cops because they think people are talking. People are going to talk as long as you keep doing this stupid shit that you've been doing for years like every other sheriff. And I mean you too, Kevin Pervert McMahill. So more coming out on this guy, okay? I got something else that's coming out in the podcast shortly about the 1995 incident. Okay, look, real fast, okay? Ashton Packer, why did I say I got something on him? I want to bring up his name because if the police department is saying they just felt that this family may be harmed or hurt, so they put these cameras in. Well, I mentioned this in a Twitter the other day because a lot of people, they don't watch Twitter, so they don't get the information until we could put it on the podcast. May 6th, the Las Vegas Review-Journal, I think it was Sabrina Shore, and I don't have the title here with me, but it was something to do with stalking, where stalking victims weren't getting help. And I'm just going to read a passage from the article. I'll tell you why I'm reading it. And she goes on here and she says, she's talking about to the stalking victim who went to police for help. And then they're quoting here, and it says, he told me at one point, this is the detective, she's going to him for help. He told me at one point that Metro has bigger fish to fry, and this was not important, and he wasn't going to do anything. Bennett said, that's the stalking victim. I was pissed. Someone was telling me my address, the names of my family members, and that they're going to come to my house with a gun. Okay? Now, this woman, according to this article, hired a private investigator who's retired, just happens to be the retired cop that was hammering me on Twitter, Anthony Ashton Pack. I think his name is Anthony Ashton Pack, okay? Him. So, and he used to work in Homeland Security. So my question to Mr. Pack and the LVMPD, since you are a retired detective who was once assigned to Homeland Security, then you would know that they have a policy that says if you feel threatened, even if we think you feel threatened, we'll come out and install cameras on your property. So, Mr. Pack, how come you didn't tell this woman who, I guess he hired him for protection or something like that, how come you didn't say, well, I'll take you down to Metro and we'll have Homeland Security put in cameras, because this woman is saying this is more serious than the alien stuff, because she says right here, this person was, I was pissed, someone was telling me my address, the names of my family members, and that they're going to come to my house with a gun. That is a legitimate 100% threat. Why didn't Homeland Security go out? Attorneys in Las Vegas need to get in on this, because Metro just acknowledged to the national press that they have a policy that they'll come out to your house if they feel even if you don't feel harmed, and they'll install these cameras on their property so they can be watched at the Southern Nevada Counterterrorism Center. People, this is bullshit, okay? I keep saying it, sorry for the language, but that's the real word, that's what it is. None of this fits. And remember Johnny Cochran, if it doesn't fit, you must have quit. Well, if it doesn't fit, it's got to be bullshit, right? So think of that. Now, I'm sweating like a bullet. I got to go because it's going to give me a freaking headache. Before I go, remember I said I thought I had everything answered? Well, on June 10th, ladies and gentlemen, at 23:07 hours, the family called into Metro and said they think there's somebody on their property jumping over the fence to install cameras. This was 23, that's 11 o'clock at night, 11:07 on the 19th, on June 10th, 2023, okay? But then interesting on the bottom, it says this. My glasses on. It says, now the officers went out there and they didn't find anything, but they say here, and this is in the dispatch log, contacted residents who stated they were concerned about potential cameras being placed in their backyard, seeing subjects walking around in the backyard, and then it says over here, they saw subjects around the back wall via surveillance camera. Okay, so now we have another surveillance camera on the property. It's obviously it's not the police camera, so from this, and I haven't had contact with the family for a couple of days. I've been trying. So I guess they're saying on June 10th when they called up, they have a surveillance camera and they saw people jumping over the fence because the thing says right here from the cops' report going into the dispatch center, they saw somebody on the property wall via surveillance camera. So maybe they went out and they bought their own surveillance camera system so they could see because everything going on. So that's another one that I got to figure out what the hell's going on with that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sweating well, I'm not going to say what I'm sweating. Okay, I'm sweating like a bullet over here. This is going on for 2 hours and 20 minutes. There's more to this, okay? And I'm investigating. But I got to get some podcasts out on Kevin the Pervert McMahill, some more cover-ups that I've been apprised of. Some of them will knock your freaking socks off. And that's the way it is. So it's, what the hell time is it over here? It's 8:44 p.m., June 22nd, 2023. This has been the Doug Poppa podcast from Las Vegas, Nevada. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a good evening. And one more thing, I do not respond to BS and all this Twitter stuff, anonymous calls. I don't care what anybody thinks. Do your own investigation. This is what I do, okay? If you don't like it, don't follow me. Don't watch my podcast because I could care less. I'm not going to stop to doing what I'm doing because I got to get answers on this one because I was the first one to break the story. If this turns out to be, and I could prove 100% hoax, I will report that, okay? But right now, just so you know, for the record, I can't say 100% that the family is lying about seeing something because the father said he saw it. They saw something back there, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what the hell it was. So I want to make sure I got everything in here. I'm sure I left some stuff out. We can pull it up in another podcast. Investigation continues, and you all have a good evening.
This lawman sacrificed his badge for justice.
Poppa knew a secret that could free a man wrongfully imprisoned for shooting his ex-wife. But when Poppa stepped forward, he was cut down by his own police department.
All this stuff's going in my head. Should I call up to the defense attorney? Okay? And I knew if I did that, holy hell would break loose.
Deputy Sheriff Doug Poppa used to be one of the top cops in rural Loudoun County, Virginia. Deputy Poppa feels he's been busted himself. He lost his job as a narcotics investigator, he says, when he told an ugly truth about a 4-year-old crime. The truth about how his own department and the local prosecutor allegedly ignored key evidence and may have sent an innocent man to jail.
I testified, and everything changes.
What Deputy Poppa testified about was an attempted murder in 1987.
He deliberately withheld evidence that should have been given to my defense attorneys.
Bill Birch is the prosecutor Deputy Poppa accused of ignoring the evidence.
He says, I told the prosecutor, I told Mr. Birch that this woman said, I'm going to shoot myself if need be, and I'm going to make it look like my husband did it just to ruin his life. Did he say that to you? No, he did not.
But this November, the court believed Doug Poppa.
Oh my goodness, is this the reception committee?
And on Valentine's Day, William Carter was released on a $50,000 bond and given a new trial.
This man usually puts people on trial in this courthouse, but in a rare turn of events, the Loudoun County Commonwealth Attorney was called to the witness stand. William Birch was asked to respond to allegations that he pressured a witness to lie in earlier court proceedings.
No, sir.
A woman who lived at the Carter mansion the night Carol Vandergrift Carter was shot 5 years ago testified that the prosecutor coached her to withhold testimony about the gun involved.
I certainly did tell him about that it was a .38.
I don't recall her saying anything about the gun, a .38 caliber, anything like that.
He's lying to cover his tracks on the last trial.
The high price one cop is paying for telling the truth.
After serving more than 4 years behind bars, Carter was on the edge of his seat when the verdict was read today.
We, the jury, on Keisha's joint, find the defendant William W. Carter not guilty.
After he audibly thanked the jury, Douglas Carter could not contain himself. The tears flowed.
When I came out and testified in November of 1991 at the habeas corpus hearing, and again in January, I was suspended for 10 days without pay, and I ended up being fired after 12 years in this department.